All right, it is 6:30. It is June 24th. Do I have a motion to accept the agenda and call the meeting to order? By Ms. Harrison and seconded by Mr. Panasenko. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. The Scituate Select Board is committed to providing an environment of respect during meetings. We ask all members to interact in a polite manner, even when there's disagreement. We value the participation of our community. When all participants, including marginalized and minoritized communities, feel welcome and respected, we ask that our committee members and everyone who participates to commit to these standards of support and respect of our community. With that, are there any walk-ins or zoom-in stuff that's not on the agenda? All right. So we'll start with the report of the town administrator.
Thank you. We'll start talking about the heat. We had 100 today. We're going to get 90 plus tomorrow. Residents who do not have air conditioning don't want to get out of the heat. Multiple town buildings are available. Town hall is open until 7:30 tonight. Later, if you want to hang out with us for a little while. The library is open 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. today and tomorrow. Council on Aging is open 8:30 to 4:30. And if you're in the Harbor Master's office is staffed until midnight. So if you want to with the heat, water usage is up. Jack Factory Pond and the reservoir both at still +2, same as last week. Average daily demand for the past week was 1.634 million gallons a day, which is up significantly from last week's 1.33 million gallons. Our annual watering ban is now in effect. Water Department has posted the annual water conservation measures. This allows for outdoor watering before 9 a.m. and after 5 p.m. between now and September 30th. Also, automatic irrigation systems may be used 1 day per week as designated by voting precinct. For information, you can go to the Water Department's website or the Water Resource Commission page for more information. We drove down the Driftway to see the construction of the small dog park began yesterday. They're mowing the low growth, constructing an access drive, getting ready to actually do the construction. This will be completed in September. The library summer reading kickoff for kids is tomorrow, Wednesday, June 25th, from 5 to 7 p.m. Sign up to be a summer reader and watch the amazing flying dogs perform on the library's lawn. No registration is required. Summer reading kickoff for teens is this Thursday, June 26th, from 5 to 8. Sign up to be a summer reader and have a blast playing video games, competing on the mini golf course with one-up games. Registration is required to see the library's event calendar for details. Both these events are sponsored by the Friends of the Scituate Town Library. DPW updates: there'll be tree work tomorrow on Grove Street. Paving, weather permitting, portions of Hughes Road, Foxwell Lane, and Cobb Lane, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week. Longley Road and Ermine will be done on Thursday. Next week, T.L. Edwards will begin paving Fieldman Drive, Pratt Road, Bishop's Lane, Boulder Lane, and Puritan Drive. So Kevin this year is trying to hit some of these neighborhoods. Rather than do a full rebuild, we're going to put a leveling course to make the road safe. Given the traffic that they get, that should hold up pretty well. Those roads in neighborhoods in good shape. Scituate Planning Board is accepting applications for the position of alternate member to the Planning Board. This position is for the ensuing term from appointment until final elections in 2026. This will be appointed by a joint meeting of the Planning Board and the Select Board. Letter of interest and reservation should be sent to Patricia A. Lambert, Chair of the Scituate Planning Board, 600 Chief Justice Cushing Highway, Scituate, Mass. By July 15th. And we'll share those resumes with the board. Beaches are now open. The Egypt Beach Trailer is open. They'll be open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. We have hours on that. Beach wheelchairs are now available to sign up from now until September 1st. Contact the Recreation Department if you are interested. High school tennis courts are still closed for the installation of the finished tennis surface. The surfacing subcontractor expects to finish work by this Thursday. Courts will remain closed on Friday to allow the surface to cure. If everything goes according to plan, they will reopen for Saturday. It's vitally important that residents remain off the surface and the courts are released at the time by the contractor. Please, no skateboarding. We've already had individuals try to skateboard on the tennis courts even while the contract is there. So please keep an eye on it. No skateboarding. We do have cameras on that. National Water Main is starting the sewer line work this week. They're going to be cleaning out, jetting, and doing inspections to install cure-in-place linings as a way to repair and prevent sewer leaks and backups. Tomorrow they'll be on Lanton Lane, First Parish Road, Wheeler Park Drive. Thursday, First Parish Road, Tilden and Beaver Dam. Friday, Beaver Dam Road, Hazel, Jericho Lane, and Jericho Road. That'll be continuing next week. We'll give you those next week on our Monday update. Finally, dog license are required. Dog licenses expire June 30th. Dog license applications are available on the town of Scituate website, the clerk's page. Rabies certificate and spay neuter information is required. Being licensed by mail, come to the clerk's office, licensed person. The cost for a spay or neuter dog is $10. The dog is a male or female, not fixed. The cost is $15. That's what I have full time.
Questions for? Any for the audience for Jeff while we're no. All right. Thank you. All right. Well, our next on our agenda is a public hearing, so we have to wait because we have to, by law, wait until 6:45. So.
Do you want to do some interviews, or do you want to hold off on that?
Sure, we can.
So Jake, if I take the answers to items, the end of year transfers and expenditures, we'll take 5-10 minutes.
Let's do that. Let's do the year-end transfers. 8-10 spot, Nancy, how are
Good, how are you? Welcome to the new members, I'm sorry, I missed your first name. I'll work on what I'm having.
you? So page 156 of the back.
So the first one on your agenda is the fiscal year end transfers. So under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 33B, we can make transfers May, June, and the first 15 days of July. With the vote of the select board, and another vote of the advisory committee. You don't need time meeting during that period to move monies around. You know, touch the school budget, and you can touch lighting plus if there was. So what you have before you is just some reshuffling for the various reasons provided. Overall, it's $235,453. The general fund, the sewer enterprise fund, the water enterprise fund, and waterways enterprise fund have some reshuffling. In the enterprise funds, it's mostly for debt. We issued a bond, and we incurred long-term interest rather than short-term interest. We're just cleaning that up into the right bucket. And then the fiber contract that you awarded a couple of meetings ago. This is the sewer enterprise and water enterprise portion. They have the funds, it was just in a different bucket. And more than happy to enterprise entertain any questions.
So, I mean, to kind of summarize, most of the transfers in that you're looking for are things like street lighting, because obviously our budget was realized now costs. Budget we needed budget increases, so that's coming in. Things like natural gas, energy costs that we need are coming up. I'm trying to summarize this with folks, so I have this in front of them. I don't know what you're looking at, and the ones that you're taking money out of, either the unspent budget or just expenses regard or
Yeah,
less.
vacancy.
So $5,000 here and make sure that we get. Questions?
General question, just for learning purposes. When we're moving things from an enterprise fund, how often do we try to be wary of leaving monies in certain categories to stay in their categories versus crossing over to different funds?
They never cross, that's a great question. Enterprise money has to stay with enterprise money, and that's why they're grouped separately. But yeah, water has to stay with water, sewer has to stay with sewer. An enterprise fund cannot bail out the general fund. The general fund can bail out an enterprise fund if it goes into deficits that we keep off course we years ago. Not now, that's up in the end, renovations, now it's going enterprise. Thank you for the question.
I have a motion, please.
Move to transfer from the available fiscal year 2025 general fund sewer, enterprise water, enterprise and waterways, enterprise budget lines as indicated on the provided spreadsheet to other general fund sewer, enterprise, water, enterprise and waterways, enterprise budget lines respectively pursuant to Massachusetts General Legislation Chapter 48B, Sections 33B, to resolve multiple end-of-year issues with unexpected costs for various departments.
Mr. Gilmore, second by Ms. Harrison, all in favor?
Aye.
Please, unanimous.
The second one is to raise the expenditure limit for certain revolving funds, and these are the 44, 50, 50 and a half, which are the ones that are authorized to the Article 11 of the annual town meeting. They're in the general bylaws, and so you can spend from them what can be spent, what receipts go in, and every year town meeting sets a limit. But the select board and the advisory committee can vote to adjust the limit if there's a reason to. And the items in the red are those that are going over. School transportation, because they had to outsource some bus routes due to a shortage of bus drivers, it was more than expected. Maintenance of private ways, there's a new person in charge of that neighborhood, and they've been spending quite a bit of that fund to make repairs on that private way. Gap transport, there were a lot of, several paratransit bills that crossed fiscal years due to a billing issue with the provider. That's brought us over. We will be reimbursed, but it's just not made us true with our expense budget. The solar array was due to the funding of the roads and seawalls in the fiscal 25 budget. The wind turbine was fine, but the solar array didn't quite make it. And then recreation programs, I'm just hedging my bets on this one. Recreation's doing so well. I just want to give myself a $10,000 buffer through June 30th, just in case they have to be more expenses. This is the time when they spend a lot of money, so I just want to be careful on that. And then the Maritime Center rental is because of capital improvements at the facility. If you've been there, you see the wonderful improvements that Dan and Jen and Cherry and Michelle are working on.
I have one question, I'll wait to the end.
I have a question just about the gas trip transport, it's increase of 40,000, the FY 25 is 130. Am I reading that right? So that's a significant bump, is that, you said that's getting reimbursed
It is
at the end of fiscal year when we recap, or?
It's when GATRA gets around, it's a revolving fund, so it doesn't close out. GATRA reimbursements lag because there were so many unpaid paratransit bills, or I should say unpresented paratransit bills, it just didn't match the budget that we expected. So we should be fully reimbursed, but it will take some time.
If you haven't used the app, you should.
Yes.
It's awesome. Get most around town for $2. Not the entire town, but most of it. So. Yeah, most.
Good, thank you.
Good. My question on rec. Thank you for increasing it by 10. I guess my question would be, we're always running a $250,000. I understand why. If you want to say they have larger costs. Do you think that's going to be enough? The 10,000. If there's things like pickleball that just want
Just through the end of June 30th.
Yeah.
We may revisit this with, if the board
Sure, okay.
sees at the special town meeting, just to increase the limit then.
Got it.
So this will probably come back behind us.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Any other questions? I thought I saw maybe any other questions, concerns? No, I'm trying to. I get 90 seconds to kill here. Nobody has a question.
I can read slow for the motion.
That would be fast. I'll take a motion. All right,
Ready?
I'm ready.
Move to increase the fiscal year 2025 expenditure limit of the Massachusetts General Legislature, Section 44, Sections 53E, 1/2, revolving funds as previously set by the April 2025 annual town meeting, Article 11, by the following amounts. A, for school transportation, decreased by $70,000. B, maintenance of private ways increased by $2,000. C, GATRA transport increased by $40,000. D, solar array revolving fund increased by $200,000. E, recreation revolving fund increased by $10,000. And F, Scituate Maritime Center rental increased by $15,000.
Second.
Mr. Gilmore, second by Ms. Schlegel. All in favor? It is unanimous, and I looked at perfect timing.
Thank you.
No,
it's
just changed. All right, now
Go back.
we can go to the public hearing to discuss and vote change of ownership interest in officers for general on-premise all alcohol beverage license for Wedgewood Beverage Inc. And this is at Barker House by Wedgewood Weddings, 21 Barker Ave. Attorney Andrew, no, not interrupting, but
I'm filling in for tonight.
all right.
My name is Elizabeth Casano, for Redwood Beverage Inc., filling in for Andrew Atkinson. This application is for a change of officers and change of ownership. There are just a few officers and directors coming and going in the license entity in the parent company and transferring, one guy is transferring his membership interests to another. You won't notice any changes at the venue. There are absolutely no operational changes. The manager of project will remain the same. It's just some housekeeping and updates for the corporate structure. I'm gonna have to be inspired to choose.
Excellent. Thank you. Questions? Jim, anything I mean?
No, stand.
Everything's, all the paperwork, so again, folks to know,
Corey, everything.
everything's glued to the back, right? Corey, folks have been certified. Everything else on the other side, license, everything went through. Clean, everything is in order.
And it was published, advertised in the paper.
Questions, comments from public? Concerns, going once, going twice. No, simple, very easy. All right, I will take a motion. Which is on page.
Move that the select board approve the application for a change of ownership interest and change of officers to Trevor Bradshaw as CFO and treasurer of the licensee, removing Daniel Byland. In addition, Eric Moore is transferring his interest in the immediate parent company of the licensee to William Zaruka. William Zaruka will replace Eric Moore as manager of the immediate parent company on behalf of Wedgewood Beverages Inc., DBA Barker House by Wedgewood Weddings, located at 21 Barker Road, for the sections 12 general on-premise all alcohol beverages license.
By Mr. Gilmore, second by Mr. Panasenko, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you. Right, yeah,
What about using for the
sure, chief,
He's right there at
he was.
the back.
There. Oh, there. Move on now, it's here.
Do you wanna, are you waiting for Mark, or do you wanna?
So again, for folks to know, because it's a public hearing, I have to wait until exactly 6:55. Thank you, Steve.
You're up.
Chief, come on up. Oh yeah, so we're gonna be on page.
There's no vote, there's probably no information.
Oh, I see.
No, I don't remember.
We get to listen.
You just have to listen.
Let's talk July, well, you're saying July 4th, we all know it's July 3rd and 4th.
Yeah.
Call it the holiday weekend.
It's a Friday.
I
found this on the web.
All right.
So I'll try to cover a couple of things for the fire department as well, since we're a little bit early, but
Oh, sorry.
that's okay. I have a pretty good idea, I think, of probably what the kind of key takeaways. So the idea was really just to come in and give you an idea of where we are, answer any questions that you have. Kind of our annual address, so what's going to happen. So I think over the course of the past 5+ years, really done a pretty good job of starting to kind of bring things in a little bit. The focus for this event, definitely moving forward, a family event, family friendly, making sure it's safe for everybody. That's really the goal of what we're trying to do. As you've seen over the course of the past year, we will have increased police presence. The department is also to make sure that we're addressing any issues that are there. The big thing for in town, as everyone knows here, there are no sanctioned events in terms of sanctioned fireworks, things like that. In years past, I think we're seeing some issues where People love to come and drop their kids off on the beach and say, have a great night. Really hoping the parents lease their own kids. We don't see carloads of kids coming from all over being dropped over on the beach. It's historically rare with problems. So again, family event, making sure things are safe. The anticipation right now is that all the beaches remain open. We've done that over the past couple of years, just with the idea that we continue to monitor activity on the beaches. If we see activity becoming unsafe and unsafe situations are coming up, public safety issues are coming up, we'll look at the beach. Would be beach lots are also open, but they are posted as 9 o'clock curfew at the beaches and beach service. So we do those things. Definitely the big thing: no bonfires. No bonfires. No bonfires. We've done that for many years now, but that makes a big difference. Pallets. We see pallets coming down on beaches. People loading up combustibles. People stockpiling things. We will go down. We will stop that and make them clear. If it has to be cleared by the town or the region sense. So don't go down and load things up on the beach. No bonfires. Small cooking fires are permitted within the guidelines the fire department set up. Check the police department website, fire department website, which will give you those kind of 3-foot small cooking fires. If we see anything, go down to the fire department and check. If they need to be extinguished, be extinguished. Public drinking, underage drinking, disorderly behavior is obviously something we look at too, and fireworks. Fireworks are illegal in Massachusetts. The big thing for us is keeping everybody safe. If we wind up in situations where there are large amounts of fireworks, commercial grade fireworks, that for us becomes an explosive situation, and the state police, fire marshal's office, and laws quite into it. We can't handle those things. We can't handle those things. So we ask that everyone use their best common sense. Again, we're trying to keep everything safe for people. And parking is another big thing. Emergency vehicle access throughout the areas, waterfront areas can get very congested. We want to make sure that if an engine or any fire apparatus needs to get down and get access to anywhere near the water, we're not blocked out with not parking situations. So parking will be enforced. In Operation Dry Water, everybody remembers what that is. That is nationwide maritime enforcement. So we're going to be out looking for BUI on water. So we want everybody again to be safe, but that happens in conjunction with the Coast Guard, our master's office, other port partners, environmental police. So if they're out in the water, we're going to be able to do that nationwide thing because of the condition on that. And again, we'll be working with all of our public safety partners from Marshfield to Cohasset, State Police, Coast Guard. We'll be working together. And the other thing I would say is there are going to be a lot of people out. Be cautious, be aware of what your surroundings are. See something that's unsafe, see something that concerns you, call the police department, call 911, and still get out and address it. But we really want people, if you see something, say something to us. And see, family friendly event, that's what we're doing.
I got a few about it first. Question,
I think I took one, with the cooking fires, you're talking about public spaces versus private spaces. Do public space cooking fires need a permit from the fire department?
There are no permits that are going to be given out in terms of fires and permits and things. And I've got some collateral here that we'll be pushing out. But essentially, in terms of what a cooking fire is determined, is 3 feet in diameter, surrounded by beach stone. The wood cannot be more than 16 inches in height. Dry firewood, no pallets, no pressure treated wood. So we're really talking very kind of small and very contained fire. On private property, don't put a bonfire in the backyard. Same thing. The fire department's going to come out. That's going to be really good. Let's see
Hot and dry.
don't cook.
Hot and dry.
Cook with pressure treated, you're in trouble. For a lot of reasons. Question.
I have a question unrelated to Jim. The beach sticker fee, because parking beach sticker fee, that is at the state for approval, right? Or
Correct.
we have not gotten approval.
No, we
So
don't.
it is still $50 until we get approval from the state.
Right.
So, do we know when we're gonna get approval? It's the legislature that has to approve it, right?
That's what the legislature first, to the best of my knowledge, it doesn't even have a guarantee.
The legislature.
And that
That's like a dark age.
Yeah.
Think that's right
Waterfront is considered, so that $50 applies on the.
Right, right. I just know that,
Are they ticketing?
what,
Are they ticketing? Yeah.
they ticket, yeah, but it's $50.
So,
$50. Until the legislature decides.
I just want to thank, public safety, both divisions, police and the fire for the dedication forward, Fourth of July weekend for safety. Appreciate it. I know you've done a great job many years past, and it's just nice to see that, everybody can still have a nice family time, and nobody can get in trouble or hurt. It's very important, so thank you.
We appreciate it, and it's the cooperation of the community that goes along with it. So that, we appreciate that from the community.
my question, how do you think things have gone, in your eyes, last, probably last 2-3 years? What would you love to see improvements on for this year? I know it was kind of drilled into us last 2 years, all right, emergency vehicle access is a huge deal, we have to get the word out. Is there something else that, someone's joined that, getting the liaison to the beach committee today, what can we get that word out, hey, we really need X this
Yeah,
year?
I think consistently seen throughout areas, when everybody comes to town, parking becomes a problem. So continuing to harp on that is definitely huge. I think that the beaches are a huge attraction, but we've got to make sure that we have clearance there. The public drinking, again, another big thing. So beaches, if you're going to coordinate with some of the beach committee people up there, we want everybody to have fun. I know there are a lot of house parties, and the next thing you know, that can kind of start to spread to other places. But we need to be consistent about what our enforcement looks like. And we want to make sure, again, people are safe, they're having fun. We really want to look at the underage drinking. We don't want this to be an attraction for a lot of underage kids.
Great. Good message.
Yeah.
Anyone from, yes, sure, I always forget to ask you, just state your name and address for the record. I always.
Ed Kaczynski, 14 Aberdeen Drive. The patrollers have, say, 10 o'clock in the morning at the beach, and they find violators and issue a ticket. They go back at 2 o'clock, the same car is there. Is that a second ticket, or is one ticket a day?
We wouldn't issue another ticket at that point. But to be fair, if an officer put a ticket on the car at 10 in the morning, and then the car may be left, ticket's no longer there, they come back to the lot, parked again, an officer who's there at 7:30 at night might not know that this ticket is anymore.
Where the ticket's visible, can the second ticket be issued?
We wouldn't issue another ticket in the same day.
And that's part of the reason why we wanted to increase the actual fee, because people say, hey, what, $50? Go down to Falmouth, it's 45 a park. You go here, 50, all right, it's a good deal. Might as well just pay it. This park at Red Sox, it's like $75. So that was part of the reason, because you're right, it's like do it once and then what's the deal? So that's why we're trying to get the 150.
But until that 150 comes through, why not? Second ticket, why not a second ticket?
We're not. You said out of the we're allowed to, because you won't be under the bylaw, and also just to get, making sure you're doing it properly.
And what is the, I guess, the designation? I don't think the bylaw specifically speaks to a ticket within X number of hours. So
Yeah.
what then becomes that rule to say, well, it's 2 hours later. Then
Right, it's 2 hours, you come back in 5 minutes, you're gonna give them 100 tickets. You know. Oh, it's not there, it becomes an infinite fee. So that's why you gotta clean it up. That makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we're now, past 6:55, so now we can do the public hearing. Discuss and vote for the outdoor extension of the premise of the galley, 95 Front Street. Brian Donovan, manager, up. Let's just get the right page for everybody.
51.
1, 2. All right. So, Tell us, what you're looking to do. Just kind of take us through kind of your mindset. We'll talk a little bit and then we'll open up.
Sure. So we're looking to extend our premises open to the first two parking spots, like we've done in the past. 2002, 2003, very successful. We're looking to give 5 tables, 4 persons, another 20 people.
So folks, so we'll make sure everyone has a chance to talk about this. I mean, this brings up a lot of different issues. We get a lot of email over this, pro, con, the benefits. Tell us a little bit about what you feel your thoughts done for the gallery, for the neighborhood.
It's been good for our revenue. It's been good for our staff, increase their pay, and more people on for the summertime. We actually couldn't bring on as many. We couldn't have them return from last summer because we just don't have the space. You know, we're hoping to get this space, bring on a couple more to help us.
I'll open up to questions, but I guess I just want to see this kind of at large. These discussions sometimes become very contentious, so people feel very strongly about some of these. I do want to just remind folks how blessed we are as a town that these are the major issues that cause some of the contention compared to other things you read in the paper. We're talking about parking, helping a business. There's going to be noise issues we're going to talk about for our business district. All those things. These are, thank goodness, these are our problems that we have to deal with and not what some other towns have. I just say that because there are a lot of conflicting thoughts on this. I just want us to make sure that we realize whatever happens, that we're in a good spot. There's some wonderful businesses. We want to make sure we support everyone down there, and we want to respect the neighbors that are around there. So with that, I will talk about the spots out in front. Comments, questions, what are our thoughts?
So, Mr. Donovan, I understand this is a need to, this would be for lunch, dinner, and into the end of closing.
Yes.
And this is because of the seasonal welcome to summer, welcome to Scituate, where our population goes to over 30,000 people.
Sir.
So your primary focus on this will be visitors to town or the tourist increase? Is that part of what we're doing here?
It's part of it, but it's also for the residents that have all enjoyed it outside. We were very successful in 2 years we did get to do it. We had the whole street just in weekends, which was very popular, which that Boston was. Yeah, not necessarily just for tourists, but for our staff.
And when was the last time we did this?
2003.
2000.
Sorry, 23.
20.
Was it 23 and 22?
We started, the first year of COVID, we actually closed the entire street.
Right.
And that impacted some of the other businesses in a major way. So I think it was 19, we were in, this particular institution was in parking spaces. Everybody else was on the sidewalks. So we would have been 19 to 23, and we didn't do it 24, because the COVID guidelines had expired. It's a different process. I could have,
And I see on the drawing that you've got 9 water-filled 8-foot barriers.
Yes.
Planned, and those would be on the outside surrounding the tables for safety's sake.
Correct.
I also see you have enough space of 96 inches in access, which conforms with the handicap access alleyway in front of the operation as well, so that we know blockage is there.
No.
Thank you. I wish you luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming in tonight, Brian. There are some good and bad to this issue as far as I'm concerned. The main one, I see the town having questions about is with the literal parking spaces, it's Front Street. It's 2 prime parking spots. You're taking the parking spots, in essence, away from yourself, away from your restaurant. They do serve a lot of businesses, especially earlier in the day. And that those barriers, they're not practically movable. You can't put up the tables every day and take it down every day. So it's a permanent closure of those spots for the 3 months. That's the primary sort of negative in my mind. The other issue that comes up in my mind with putting the barriers out is the equity issue of at the moment, I believe you guys are the only people using parking spots for those types of parking space. There are other restaurants in the harbor that have public space. They're all on the sidewalk or in private courtyards, like the sports, etc. So those are the sort of the negative questions I have. On the upside, I do see, it's not for the town to decide what the upside is for galley as a business. Well, I'm sure it is a good upside for the galley in the summer. I do acknowledge that we all want employment for residents, kids, employees to be able to make a living and have more employees. I also acknowledge, I think that we hear a lot constantly in town about the commercial versus residential tax base in town and how we always want to think of ways to increase the commercial side of the tax base so that we're not burdening taxpayers with homeowners' taxes as much. You are just one business, but if you're making more money for your business, you're making more money for the town, I see it. So I do see that value there. And I think that we are a seasonal town. We have a large summer influx, like Jamie was saying, it's a very large population increase. But that population increase serves tourism, serves tourism dollars. That doesn't just feed galley, it feeds the inn, it feeds weddings, it feeds events, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there is a give or take balance here. One of the thought processes I have, which we can sort of circle back to after we hear your commentary, is whether or not there may be some alternative to this. As I was asking the fire chief and looking through the building codes about sidewalk space. I think that's been questioned before, and I think I'd look for your input on whether you guys have looked at that in the past and what you've found out. Is it possible? And kind of compare that to what I'm looking at. But I'll sort of wait for the commentary from the rest of the board and this.
Yeah, I mean, talking about is the basic question: is there space on the sidewalk
No.
itself?
They might be able to fit at 2, but it's still gonna be close for handicap accessibility. The sidewalk's much narrower there than this behind Guardian.
It is, but the way I was actually down there today measuring, and the galley sidewalk is just shy of 8 feet. It's like 7'10", 7'9", something like that. From window to the curb. At Hibernian, they actually have 12 feet, so they have an extra 3 feet. The Hibernian walkway, and that's not about Hibernian, but the Hibernian walkway as it stands right now is just it's under 40 inches, so it's like 38 inches. 36 is wide. 36 is the requirement, and that's what's legal. But it is a pretty tight space, and as we were speaking about code earlier, just looking it up, as long as you have a passing lane before and after width, that's not a problem. And I have pictures on my phone, so I was looking at that earlier today and the other day. If you did take, say, small high top tables, you're right, you're not going to fit big tables out there. But if you took high top tables and placed them on the sidewalk, either at the curb, which I would recommend, or down the glass side of the sidewalk, you would, I think, be able to fit tables outdoors and still have a legal passing lane, which I think would actually be wider than what by Bergen is.
Probably 2.
Yeah,
Two
chairs, high top,
But we
two
do
chairs.
know, because then you're parking, so down that other part of the street, now there's parking, so you're not like opening your door. What if the passenger wanted to get out of the car?
Yeah.
Open onto the sidewalk.
What I'm saying is, well, and again, I'm not criticizing Hibernian at all. I think they're perfectly within their permit. But just as an example, as a counterbalance, their park with space, which is on the sidewalk, has large barriers around it, has flower boxes. It's a substantial barrier that's not moving at all. And they have slightly less than 40 inches, and it's on the restaurant side that people pass, so they're right up on curb. So if you had smaller tables up against the glass, all I'm suggesting is, I do think you'd be legally able to put tables outside in public space, without using those parking spaces, and be able to put probably 3 doubles on one side, 3 doubles on the other side. That gets you 12 seats versus 20. Now, I'm not saying you can't approve the parking spaces.
It would also change the idea of the family dining concept that most of that restaurant is designed for. They have very few high tops even inside.
I'm not telling Brian what to do, I'm simply looking at alternatives.
That's far.
I'm not against, I'm not sure which way to go on this in terms of parking spaces. I'm just looking at the options before we.
Two parking spaces. Yeah. Well, we did look at this during COVID, right, and for accessibility and everything, so I guess the general question is, what are your thoughts when you did look years ago for high tops or just using the sidewalk? What refresh our memory?
When we did look at the sidewalks with the glass open, the high tops have to be so close to the building where a high top will be here. The next table will be right here, so they sit right by the edge. So they basically move, so it does kind of go this way.
And the grade is a bit tough, grade of the sidewalk.
Yeah, grade of the sidewalk.
The waterway now. So it's an awkward place to put that.
Why is it water-filled barriers and not, in the past, it was like cement jersey barriers?
I've only seen the water bill, it's been that day.
Yeah, that's it. So usually the town, those are the towns.
Okay.
Provided water.
They're easier to move in and out, eventually we did bring them.
There you go.
And they keep the water fresh.
It washes the water plants.
There you go.
And less than the show, if you stand up.
Okay.
Questions?
No, I mean, I have larger questions on parking on the street that we've kind of discovered as we've kind of looked at this with, is it 1 hour, is it 2 hour? Some restaurants have parking in front, some that don't, so like, I mean, you could say equity issue, but also like, I don't know why some have very large sidewalks and some don't, so, I mean, I think it's only 2 parking spaces that are 2 hours, but it's my thought on it. Not the benefit of having increased like 20 people eating there for that whole period of time, outweighs the 2 hour parking spot. But I also think there's larger issues that we have to like make sure are we addressing. Is there, there's a carryout place right across the street. Should we look at parking where, I was telling you, Cohasset recently did a 15-minute parking because they've got a very busy carryout place right in front. So like, I do think maybe it's traffic rules, or this is not to, right, not to discuss, not to decide on tonight, but maybe a larger issue that our traffic rules maybe might want to look at. It's like, what's the best benefit for all? Honestly.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that a little bit, I think kind of my thoughts when my head is a little bit up. Yeah, I mean, some of this is difficult and some of it's easy for us as well. This is one of the few things some local businesses are like, wait a minute, fairness or not fairness, but there's also overwhelming support for the vibe from residents that we're dining. Like it's overwhelming that folks want it. That's there. Probably shame on the chair for not making sure this went through traffic rules and regulations, because they didn't. Probably should have done that.
But the precedent is already set. We've already done this.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it's also, but this is also, would realize that possibly some of our signs are make sure that signs,
Parking
Right.
signs and it's.
we have 1 hour, 2 hour.
Yeah,
Those things need to be.
I drove
So
up and down.
all this is part of a
It's-
bigger,
it's
what are we
a mess.
really doing, and
Yeah.
this, you're in the crosshairs of kind of that, that's there. And then other cities and towns do a fee, right, and that is to give away,
The biggest thing.
right, and just, and talking all about that. I'm saying that's where, not saying no, just not saying yes, just saying, that's why we have these discussions. Right, I'll open it up, I'm sure there's gonna be folks, sir,
Gordon Rice for the Inland Road. I guess I'm neither for or against the assessing concerns. After having spent 45 years in Harvard running my business, I was involved in many parking issue battles. And it was a tough fight to keep parking in the harbor after we lost their amount back when it was 25 years. So parking is very important for all of this, Brian's business included. I think that when you make a decision, you really have to be sensitive to those parking issues of businesses in the harbor. Those two parking places probably turn over conservatively 12 to 13 or 14 times a day, times two, that's 25 to 30 uses of those two spaces. That's a lot of business coming into the harbor in those two spaces. You know, if something could be worked out on the sidewalk, I think that would be the most logical, because you're not impinging on the parkers. Or I spoke with my people who took over my office this afternoon. They have some concerns about losing those parking places during the course of the day. So it's a realistic concern. I also want to make a comment on the water barriers, whatever they're called. I think they're hideous. I think they do nothing to add to the, you know, perception of the harbor being a pretty area. I'm not going to travel through Plymouth. Actually, Plymouth allowed a lot of parking on the street. The barriers that were put up were very nicely decorated. So I think that Ryan is allowed to do that. I think something other than the waterfield barriers needs to be done, or at least dress them up in some way, so at least it looks presentable. So those are my main concerns. You know, I like Brian, I like his business, he runs a great business. You know, obviously we all want to see him successful. In the summertime, as you know, a lot of businesses is a very important part of the year. To make sure the bottom line is successful at the end of the year. So, I just ask that you know, give it a lot of thought. Like, don't envy me sitting there having to make that decision. But there are some pluses and minuses which have been brought up. But thank you.
Okay. Try to talk to as many businesses as I could down there, and getting both, I don't single anybody out, but I'm getting answers from both sides, something that's wonderful, something that's not great. I will mention, I asked the Chamber of Commerce, who actually, Dale didn't remember or not, but the Chamber has come out and they support, I think, overall is additive to the whole neighborhood. That was their position. They thought it was a good thing.
At Paul America on 91 outside. And heard a lot about the business, about parking, about the residents and the public access. Using Galley, you have a certain amount of space of the sidewalk. They usually have planters, which is fine. And then they put signs next to the planters. So that when we walk, we have to walk by the planter, by the sign, over to the curb. The other thing is, take a look at the folks here. These folks are essentially, most of them are coming from 91 Pleasant Street. I hold my wife's hand, partly because we need to cross support. keep each other from falling. That's happened several times. A lot of us are in seventies and eighties, some have walkers, some have canes. You need that space. You look at Hibernian, they've got a certain amount of space. I mean, you can't have a lot of single file if someone else is coming on the side. Now, on the other side of the street, you have South Society. They have approximately 1/3 of that wide sidewalk. This year, they have 2/3 of that sidewalk. And now, we're limited to about 2 feet on that side of the street. So considering that we have to navigate that space, it's huge. I haven't measured, sorry, it's probably 2 feet. Then you have to think about the dogs, and sometimes the fire tables, the carriages for the kids, and sometimes up over the curb. The traffic from the wait staff going back and forth, people going in the bathroom. And you gotta wait. So think about the residents. It's not just our side. It's everybody. I mean, we're really exercising on this issue. And Harborside has a totally open front during the season. And the music that comes out of that has really offended some people that have those front rooms. And there have been agreements that have not been lived up to in the past. Well, the sound, the level of the sound level, the time at which it's supposed to stop, agreements have been made and breached. So, I mean, we're coming from a particular place in terms of navigating and noise, and I'm not even addressing it. We also, some of us sent letters from Morrison, things you brought up, and you brought up here already. But please, consider the residents, consider anybody, public. Free access, this is public space. I don't know what, is Hibernian paying the town for this additional?
This issue isn't about Hibernian specifically.
I'm sorry, is Galley paying the town or even the other ones for that, for invading the public?
Galley does have a fee that they're paying to create the space.
They're paying a fee.
Yes,
It's through I drive something.
yes.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
But please, in consideration, think about this. Think about how old we are. Think about the fact we have to work with those narrow spaces and depending upon the traffic going back. Makes it difficult. Thank you.
I mean, that's the argument for.
Can I just comment on that in the sense of giving Galley 2 public parking spaces? One argument is you actually are making a greater safety net for public access across stations.
That's exactly what I thought, that's the argument to give them space, the 2 spaces, then you have more, then you can walk hand in hand and.
I'm not sure if there are other comments, but
That is a good point.
that would actually salvage 100% of space they have there instead of.
The only sign that I've ever seen at Galley that sits on the sidewalk is like a TV sign that's no more than about, 2.5 feet high.
Sandwich board.
That's sandwich board. Now, I'm sure that could be moved if there's a concern about some blockage of that 96 inches of runway.
Right, there's usually well,
Yeah.
on that side.
I don't recall, I do know there's a planter, but it's kind of on the inside vestibule entry area there.
It's just on the front now,
Yeah.
but again, that is only.
Maybe that can be adjusted. If I could just continue, I agree with Dr. Price, if we could pretty up the safety barriers, that's a wonderful idea. Take a design challenge or something, I don't know, but yeah, that would be nice. I'd like to see the signage and the faded awnings and the ridiculous looking planters on the front of CVS cleaned up too. So let's open that up to a big challenge.
Right, in the past, when you did have the spaces for 2 years, didn't you did spruce them up? I
We
believe,
did,
the first
yes.
year, I know you
Yeah,
had
we used to
palm
beach
trees, you had, it was like,
fences.
palm trees. So you did do that.
Tropical.
Was that Was that a costly venture relative to the space for the summer to spruce them up?
No, not at all. Plus, we wouldn't want it to look like that as Sarah does always anyway, so we would do that about it.
So sometimes the art of compromise is that we're all gonna leave here a little bit disappointed, a little happy. I don't see any other comments, none there, none here. I guess, yes.
Yeah, on that point, Nico, Hibernian, I think does a great job at doing up their space in the sidewalk. So I would encourage something like that, you know, if in fact, you know, we're granted approval for those 2 spaces.
Just off price mentioned, Plymouth bought those units with their ARPA funds. They charged $2,400 for the existing business, it was $4,000 for a new business. There will be no on-street dining on it this year. Now the business is signed up. So,
Oh,
I think we just have to make the best
Price
effort.
out of it.
Well, so here's my first question. So this goes until September 28th. Is that too much? You just go to Labor Day?
No.
No, that's very, and if you're gonna have outdoor dining, that's outdoor dining.
And take it all the way to October.
For the residents, for the
Versus
person,
no.
actually.
Still
First.
I think that makes it very funny.
That could be
Trying to-
numbers. It's still.
I remember when I think it was 22, it was 22 or 23, and we were all dying to try and eat outdoors, and we tried to eat this, and we were eating in parkas in like late October. It really wasn't enjoyable, but we're doing it on principle. But in September, it's lovely in Scituate, and I think if we're going to have it, we should have it long enough for them to really help the residents and visitors enjoy the season. I would have said October 15th, but September 20th is really exciting.
Is this fee, actual money we can spend, or is it just reimbursing DPW for the barriers?
those are general fund.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Pete Roden, 91 Front Street. I live in the front of the building. I have my coffee in the morning on the front balcony. I watch the world. Gordon is right. There's a number of people using those spaces, and probably he's underestimated. Being an engineer, that 18% of the spaces on that side of the street. It takes away from other merchants. Question is it fair? And that's the real question. The other issue is that the building is in a commercial area, but we're a residential building. And the challenge is with the alley is that it's a fun place. The other issue is the CVS is a hard service, and it bounces all the noise. I can tell you someone sitting in the outside table, what they're telling, what joke they're telling. It's that, so it's a challenge to be fair to all concerned. If it goes through, we really need to limit the hours of the outside use. We really need to limit, have the doors closed as we originally agreed in this building about 5 years ago at 10 o'clock. I occasionally have to go down there and remind the manager, it's too loud, it's 10:15, would you please close the doors? So we're just trying to be good neighbors, logical neighbors, and that's what I know.
Appreciate it, yeah. And we'll be getting to the entertainment part after this. All right. Moving.
I do agree there should be an end time for the outdoor seating. Should be. They're supposed to close the windows at 10 o'clock, maybe you stop the outside seating at 10 o'clock.
Fair enough.
But I don't think you want people sitting outside for midnight. So,
Do we have any limits on any of the other restaurants you have out?
Hibernian's 10 during the week, they go to 11 on the weekends. For outdoors, yeah.
For outside dining? 10, 11?
I think we should make it consistent.
Yep.
With the other outside dining establishments.
And I think there's a subsequent issue that we're gonna talk about later, but that I think for this.
Yeah. Rutger motion, I'm sorry. Yes, and, go for it.
Move to approve the seasonal outdoor extension of premise into the 2 parking spaces in front of Galley 95 Front Street, which consists of 5 tables, 20 chairs, from until 10 p.m. on weekdays and 11 p.m. on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights.
No.
Until September 28, 2025, and further to authorize the town administrator to sign a sidewalk license agreement along with.
Second. Moved by Mr. Anastaco, second, Mr. Gilmore. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
No.
Okay, so it's a 3-2. Vote in favor.
Right, I do encourage you to try when they're installed, spruce them up.
All right, so now we're gonna move to the the entertainment license. And those modifications, I'm sorry. Just trying to find my page here. All right.
The page 65.
65. All right, so tell us, we've had some residents come in and talk to us about this. First element, again, the modifications, and then I think we're gonna talk about precisely how we define and talk about acoustic, because that's what we have currently, and being good neighbors, but also clarifying, because I think there's ways to make this easier for everybody. Because first of all, I don't want to be the musician police, what's acoustic, what's not. So tell us what you're thinking, and we'll start with that.
So right now we're approved for 2 musicians, acoustic. And what we'd like to do 2 times a year, we do a larger event. It ends early, it's usually the afternoon, 3 to about 7. And that's the St. Patrick's Day Parade and Heritage Days, where we have 5 musicians that come in and they put on a show. And it does end early, ends at 7 o'clock. And yeah, we'd like to be able to do that.
All right. So the one thing that we've struggled with as a board that I've seen is that it's this issue of acoustic and how many musicians and what it's almost like we're out of a plot of films. Trying to figure out once in a while. Trying to watch MTV Unplugged. Very amplified. And the one thing I think we've learned a lot from the experience that we had with neighbors who are upset about the wind turbine. And we were debating for years and years about decibels, how loud, what bounces off wall. We found there's only a few things that we can control, talk about. Are the windows open or the windows closed? The door open is the door closed. Is it allowed to use it or not, and when does it stop? Right? Personally, for the police, for everyone involved, keeping these licenses as simple as possible. Personally, in my opinion, is easier than trying to figure out what piece, what's acoustic, what's not. And then we're all fighting over what's what versus music stops, right? So that's one thing I guess I want us to kind of think about as a board as we do this, talk about this. What are people's general thoughts on simplifying, not just for them, we'll do it for other businesses as well, but to modify something.
I have a comment. I thought I spent 2 years solid talking about this, right?
Yeah.
I thought we did a good job trying to make it consistent and we're not, like, we're being like over prescriptive. Like, some have a jazz quartet while some are doing, some allow for a DJ or some allow for a karaoke, which is being way too prescriptive.
But
And
is it us?
I think we could control things a lot more if we say, okay, you can have whatever, make it a lot more vague, but then the doors need to shut us.
I agree, because I think what you're looking at here is what the business has brought to us in the past and said, I'm gonna do jazz, or I'm gonna do DJ, as you said.
Dinner theater.
Dinner theater. Well, that is a
That's the
dinner
River
theater.
Club,
Yeah, but that's the way the rules have been written, according to what the business has brought into us, and we've kind of couched it. We've still tried this other section of this chart that does go over hours. Now, if we could standardize the hours to be fair to the community as well as the businesses, that would be a big plus. And windows being closed at 10 o'clock. Sorry, you have to come down once in a while and ask them to close early. That's not the intention, I don't think, from anybody's standpoint.
Right.
And actually, that was the part of the intention of moving, if we move to something like this, where it's simpler, so the enforcement can be.
It's easy to enforce, they shouldn't be knowing how many.
Yeah, I mean, I read the police reports on some of these things where they come down and they don't find. And then they try and reach out and they don't get any response from complainants at that point. Maybe it's too late in the day. But if we could standardize this to something a lot more enforceable, and chief is here, maybe the chief, if I can make a comment.
Yeah, I agree that the chart is, I mean, that's, I don't think that's a design anybody wants, first of all. The timeframe, I do have a question if we're trying to standardize almost in any sense, but certainly the timeframe, and I don't know if this is a question for shared experience with Jim, but if we were to try and standardize, are we gonna have issues with grandfathering, or do we have the option to at a given year reset the?
We can reset them anytime, we have to have them in. I've already, and I mentioned that this was going on tonight, I said if we do something for the galley, we'll probably come back and ask the librarian to do the same thing.
So it would be a little process, but we can standardize.
We would have to have them in and be another hearing, but yeah, you can stand that.
So what is this in our bylaw, where, would we have to change anything there or no?
No, nothing in the bylaw. You have two issues, you have the noise issues, closing the windows, the police handle that, they do a very good job. But when they get on, it's a 4-piece band instead of a 3-piece band or a duo, that's actually on this board, with me. So the police have to write a report, bring it to us, we have to have a hearing for a violation of the license. It's very complicated, unless the board wants to give you pen and cash, weekend. Check out the bands.
It doesn't solve the problem on Wednesday night, have a hearing 3 weeks later, it happens.
Right, so standardizing would make it a lot simpler. The police and the enforcement, they're the ones that get calls. Thank God, no one's called me at 11:30 Saturday night about the noise, but they get the call, so if it's standard, they'll know, these are the requirements, and it's just easy.
And again, this is trying to be for both the residents and the visitors today. There's gonna be, instead of us saying jazz, can't believe some of these other ones, but for this one.
Well, in some of those, that's what they ask for.
But I mean, that's where those words
They
came
do a
from.
jazz, they could do a jazz brunch, right?
Right. But they're saying, it's, my point is, trying to make it as simple so everyone can say, we can all play by the same rules.
I think the timing is simply a question of making a decision. I think it's almost in line with what we were just talking about with outdoor seating. I think, it makes sense to me in a town that's on the coast, that's got a tourism sector that's busy, that has a seasonal temperature rating that's comfortable in the summer. It makes sense to me that the types of times we were talking about for outdoor use of public space kind of go hand in hand with the use of noise. And that may or may not be the exact same time frame, but it makes sense to me that we set a time and we stick to a time and make it consistent. And Galley would certainly fall under that umbrella. I think that when it comes to the what part, I agree completely. It makes no sense to me that there should be differentiation of what. The only time I would say that that makes sense to me is, I'll use the River Club as an example. The River Club has 2 acres of space between them and their nearest abutter, and they serve 200, in-person weddings. I see an idea of where there could be a difference of what's on stage and they're indoors anyway, versus something that can be theoretically heard outdoors, depending on, certainly other residents here will say it is heard outdoors. So I just don't understand why we would have a differentiation for any business that is front facing at least. Standardize it to some idea of what that is. I'm sure people
Because their hours are there already, like,
But
weekends till
they're all
10.
over the place.
And, well,
Right,
I'm just particularly looking at the Galley's hours, it's still 10, and then on Friday, Saturday, it's still midnight.
Yeah, and maybe that's okay, maybe it pulled back to 11 to match up with the outdoor seating so that they can actually be consistent between doors and windows.
So that last point, so it seems I'm getting some sort of consensus that we're gonna streamline it. You go to live music as opposed to X musicians for.
Makes no sense to me to have a list of what lines.
Yeah, okay. Number two, the actual hours, a couple of things. One, of the music, and two, if we don't spell out that maybe we should, this is for the residents, precisely to make sure doors and windows. But right now, it's Sunday to Thursday, music goes from 12 to 10 p.m. And Friday to Saturday to midnight. So 12 to noon to midnight, Friday and Saturday.
Was never the midnight.
Well, that's what their permit says today.
It is on.
But do you actually run until midnight?
We're not a big live music place. We don't do a lot of music there. Twice a year we put on for the town. It's kind of a lost business for us those days because the town is so busy. People are just coming in for a drink, and so we don't worry about food that day, and we put something on just sort of in the show of good faith for the town. And the other days we do musical events, I guess we would call them. And the rest of it is pretty much just acoustic. So we don't go, if our residents don't know we still have music going on till midnight, obviously keeping it on your volume of the ship.
That's just a question I'd probably go to Chief Thompson. If you have forget for a moment that we're talking about a business and the residents unit in the harbor. If you have a noise complaint at my house by the rotary in the woods, and a neighbor calls and says there's noise complaints, can you please come check it out? When an officer goes down to assess that complaint and decides whether they are or are not asking the homeowner to shut down, is it essentially a gut feeling of how obnoxious it is versus being within the realm of a private residence's right to have some entertainment for their guests?
And I think it really comes down to reasonableness. And I think the other thing is cooperation from the person. A lot of times, if you don't have a conversation, they love Nico, because complaints, usually people will kind of calm it down. It really comes down to your right to enjoyment is great against the grant others. I think what we found with the harbor businesses has consistently been that when we've got a complaint, go down and have a conversation. They're very respectful. They generally comply. They understand things that come from neighbors. And I think when we are able to have that good relationship, it's super helpful. Obviously, from our standpoint, we've got to order that our officers, we have consistency, and they know, hey, next time, doors are supposed to be shut, windows are going to be shut. That's where things are. It makes it really easy to help enforce that and everybody's on the same page. So we really look to have conversations for once reasonable. And I think our officers, James alluded to, we're trying to work with businesses down there and understand that there's a balance, but it's a business that's also they're running their operations. So, thank you, Chief.
So
I guess my point to ask that was simply that we're talking about businesses chiefly that are in the harbor, they're in a business district. They are, and I completely understand residents, needs to sleep, I think residents needs to enjoy their life as well. But as we talked about the windmill, I'm a pretty good example, the water department is, water treatment plant's being built right up the road from my house. And, I know they're not supposed to start at 7, but about 6:30 every morning, trucks go breaking next to my house carrying dirt and everything else. They don't ask me if it's too loud, but I chose to live on 3A. And those residents by the windmill who chose to live by the windmill, and residents that choose to live in the harbor, you have the benefit of walking to everywhere that they want to walk rather than you having to drive all the way downtown to go to CVS. And so, with respect to the residents, I do feel there's an important need to balance the value of businesses to function as a business and to serve the community as a tax base, and to remember that those residents do choose to live there. So as long as we can come up with a consistent rule that we can apply to everybody fairly, I think that's the main goal I would have.
So one thing I've heard, and we'll open up for questions, would be, so I mean, we have some general hours here what they already do, but also do we, I guess I'll take kind of a test here, windows, we have to add in.
We should include
Windows and doors at a specific time. Okay.
10 o'clock, I think 10 o'clock is the right to close it, that's when they're shutting off the dining. It's not.
You
Well, I
just
think
voted for dining to go till 11.
Well, on the weekend, that's Friday and Saturday.
There's two there, there's a weekend
Weekend, I can
time and
understand.
a weekday.
Oh, okay.
I think we understand that.
I think that the windows and doors is important.
So windows and doors, 10, as of now, we'll listen to the residents.
10 or 11 on Friday and Saturday. And what about Sunday night? Is Sunday night a really big night?
No.
No, it says Sunday to Thursday.
When I made the motion about parking, I included Sunday. I think somebody said no as I was reading the motion, and I think their point was to say that this entertainment license is different on Sunday.
Let's say do brunch.
So relative to closing hours on, closing music hours on weekend, I think Friday and Saturday are the better nights, so I would be up for that.
Let's go. We'll figure it aside. Anyone have comments, questions? Yes, back.
Me again. Music could run to 11 on the weekend, really need folks to windows and doors at 10, because it is this population, especially in the front of the building. It's tough. The DB level, again, I've got a DB meter, and I was curious one night when there was amplified music. It was in the high 80s. I love music, but let's be realistic. Let's make it 10 o'clock for the windows. Outside, if that's what it's going to be. Just as a good neighbor and due to the acoustics, that area.
What are our thoughts on 10?
I'm fine with closing windows.
Trying to
We always have it.
I'm trying to split down the middle, so
So
the best I can.
sometimes I might want to tell 10:50 because you have people sitting there, so we'll go to 10 and we'll shut down at 10. Just bear with us too while we're trying to make that transition.
I'll be there.
So,
If we close CVS, we can knock down CVS, we don't have to worry about.
so it sounds like where we're leaning is windows and doors at 10 o'clock,
All the time.
7 days a week.
So okay with that?
Music until 10 on weekdays and 11 on Friday
Friday,
and Saturday.
Saturday.
Our current license is 12, Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, that's changing that one.
We'd like to keep that because if the doors are closed, the doors are closed.
So we're keeping the hours the same, current hours goes, the windows have to be closed.
Right.
Fair.
So 10, Sunday through Thursday, midnight, Friday, Saturday, but doors closed at 10.
Windows and doors, 10 o'clock, close it up. All gonna be
Does that make sense to you?
slightly disappointing. Sorry, sir, in the back, yes.
I used to Caruso, I live in 91 Front Street. I'm listening to back and forth here, I'm just wondering, 10 o'clock seems like a reasonable time. I'm just wondering what commitment is there to enforcing the 10 o'clock? Because I think the impression I get is that these commitments have been made before, but, you know, not really been adhered to. I'm not necessarily saying intentionally, maybe there are a number of reasons for it, but I'd like to get some sort of a commitment that, you know, someone will be enforcing it. It can be on a friendly basis, but, you know, to know that the neighbor should not be put in a position of having to go at 10 o'clock and say, you know, you've got a permit, you've got it here. So, you know, it's a two-way street. Something could be done in terms of at least assuring the residents that, you know, someone, from the police department or whoever it is, you know, would stop by around 10 o'clock just to make sure everything's okay. It shouldn't be the residents that you talk to, yeah, I don't think, personally.
That could be my favorite question, all because that's actually the impetus behind part of this. This part of the current enforcement was in the ambiguity of what was written. And I think there probably were some commitments and maybe they were a handshake deal that's not in the actual whatever, that's in our actual license, but the license, by simplifying it, police can drive by and say, windows are open, they're not there. Versus before, is that a 4 or 5 piece, is that acoustic, is it amplified, is it not amplified, is a tuba, now it's like, that's totally forget, I'm not even gonna deal with it. So by having those, and then that way we're like, all right, they can go by, they're not doing what they're supposed to, oh, they are doing what they're supposed to.
Well, personally, I think that would be a significant step forward in showing, you know, you're trying to mitigate the impact of that, and it doesn't put the residents, you know, whether it's one person or another in a position of having to go and, you know, remind the galley or wherever else it may be that, you know, there's a time limit. So what you're suggesting, in my opinion, is a reasonable compromise. It's my opinion.
Mr. Chairman, I think there's gotta be give and take here for everybody. I think the police have their responsibility. I also think these two gentlemen, the manager and the owner, are here. They're hearing you loud and clear. If they need to put a little more emphasis, and if the rule is the 10, then they need to step up too. We don't want to have everybody policing each other. That's not the state we live in. But at the same time, you have the right to pick up the phone if it's not right. And people are human. So sometimes, and as you just earlier mentioned, sometimes there's people sitting at a table where they can't go and close those windows immediately at 10 o'clock, and maybe as soon as they're finished, they close them. But I hear everybody saying the same thing.
I think right on target.
Yeah.
You do have a manager here, and you have, you know, keep people involved together. So from my vantage point, it's not a matter of having police and whoever show up at 10 o'clock.
Right.
On the nose. That's not where I'm coming from.
Okay.
You know, I think we need to work together on that, but it's nice to know that at least maybe around 10:15, 10:20, someone drives by and says, well, wait, we got a little problem here. And let that be corrected and not put the neighbors in the issue, but, you know, tell them down.
And that's the goal.
The issue now, it's now a condition of the license, it's part of that license,
Yeah,
so if they don't do it, it's a violation of their license, and then they end up back
Yeah, I
there.
agree.
So, before it was just agreement, now it's part of the license, the windows will be closed, if that, if he violates that on a consistent basis, and he's back here for a hearing with the board, why are you doing it? So,
I was only convinced at 10 o'clock years ago, well, there wasn't a noise ordinance in Scituate Harbor. And so I said, listen, we just shut it around that. You've been pretty good with it, even though it wasn't on our license. We were just telling managers, hey, this is what we need to do as a benefit to everybody and our insurance.
So yeah, that's the goal. Trust and verify, right? You have to try, you know, make sure it works.
Let's see it get better.
Yeah, that's the goal. All right, I'll take a vote.
I'm gonna change this motion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Motion to amend the existing galley indoor entertainment license to allow music venues Sunday through Thursday until 10 p.m., Friday and Saturday till midnight, With windows.
Yes, that's what we have already.
With windows and entry doors closed every night at 10 o'clock.
Second.
So, all right, moved by Mr. Gilmore, seconded by Mr. Schlegel. Comments, questions, all in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous.
So let's see how this goes. If we have to visit again, we'll visit again.
No, we'll try our best to keep everything on.
10 o'clock,
Sure you will.
Given that summer's really getting busy finally.
I wish you well and good business, and I hope the 91 folks can sleep better too. All right?
Next time, bring in some of those delicious hair margaritas.
We might have to make them virgin. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chairman, real quick, later on the agenda, you have the licenses, council is here. If you have any questions for him, we can jump them up, so I'll have to keep otherwise, if you have any questions, I'll cover them. So I gotta jump that up and then.
Do we have questions? You're gonna sit. He's gonna sit in the we're gonna do them as a group.
That's all they have to do.
Your votes. So I'm gonna bring everybody up at once. Go through. For all the different committees. And then we'll. Sorry, Coach, no, it's very loud here. If you're here, Chris. He's online. John. For C2C, John. Christian Disabilities, come on up. Lizzie and Eric. If there's room at the table, we have four.
Three quarters back.
Perfect, thank you. That's all right.
Yes.
Pass it around.
I'm happy to tell you about it.
All right, so all of you are looking for different committees, but we'll do it all at once because
What?
it's also less nerve-wracking.
Fine.
You.
Wires. There, yeah, there were wires. Yes.
All of this, man.
Guilty as charged.
All right. So. How was everyone? Hopefully we'll be able to get to Chris.
Chris should be able to unmute himself. I think he's unmuted.
I am unmuted. Hopefully you can hear me.
Perfect, all right. Well, you're gonna be the fifth one to go, sorry. But
Okay.
I'm gonna go to my right to left. But here's how we're gonna do it. Real quick, Cliff Notes version. Tell us a little bit about yourself, real quick. And then why now? Why the committee and why now? We'll go through and we'll open up everyone for questions. So we're gonna start, Lizzie?
Lizzie, yeah.
All right, Lizzie
Yes.
is gonna go first. Lizzie is looking for Beach Commission.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lizzie. I've been a Scituate resident for 6 years. I live over on Country Way. I have 2 young daughters and I'm fortunate enough to spend a lot of time at the beach. Why now for the Beach Commission? I am preparing to leave my corporate job in July to stay home with my girls, and I was really passionate about putting more into the beach to give back in multiple ways. Fundraising, accessibility, partnering with other communities to help make it just a more inclusive environment. My girls were previously in a daycare, and speaking with other parents has given me a lot of ideas. So I think I can bring a good amount of energy to the commission and hopefully make some positive change.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. You don't have my resume. My name is Erica Cushing, no affiliation to the Cushing name all over this place. I moved here 3 years ago from Denver. I first lived in Massachusetts back in college. I came here to go to BC from California.
And then I went to law school at Columbia in New York. I started practice in New York City, then moved to Denver, and then after my second baby, I have 3 boys, 4, 3, and 1. I decided to stay home, and it's been a little chaotic and up until now. I think I'm ready, just like you said, to give back to the community. I'm invested. We plan on raising our kids here, and I think that a lot can be done from a beautification perspective and organization. You mentioned the CVS on Front Street. I have a lot of plans for Front Street. Little small things that I think could make a big impact. Flowers, gardening, organization. I think people would be motivated just to make it a more beautiful place because environment matters, and it's just exciting to see what the commission has done so far, and I want to keep it going.
Thank you. Back to that, Johns.
Yes, John McElwain here. Thank you for inviting me to be here in person. I apologize for technical difficulties last go around. So my wife Karen and I moved here 3 years ago, chose Scituate as our retirement community. I've been very familiar with the town, having started coming down here in my 20s as a good friend, grew up on Lawson Terrace, and so I knew that I'm familiar with the town, and really it was the best choice we ever made. We're really happy here. Since being here, I've been dabbling in volunteer activities. I volunteered for the North-South River Watershed Association, County Herring at Bound Brook. I'm involved with planting beach grass at Peggotty Beach, doing cleanups in Miami Beach and all sorts of things. And what I'm looking for is a deeper connection with the town, to moving to the next level, next stage. I think community preservation would be ideal for me to participate in. I value what it offers to have a stable source of funds for the town to maintain its character and its history and to build out recreational opportunities and housing opportunities. Today at lunch, I took the opportunity to walk the Mordecai Lincoln Trail, and it's a beautiful setting. And see actually a kayaker out there using the ramp this afternoon. And to say, this is the type of thing that would excite me to participate and serve. By a business experience point of view, I think I can bring 3 things to the committee. One is vetting projects with rigor and discipline. I spent most of my career as a business unit CFO and senior finance official in the financial services industry. I understand the importance of being detailed and understanding projects before you bring them forward. Second thing is I spent time as an executive director of IT consolidation for Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Working with multiple state agencies, trying to figure out how to centralize technology and deliver a better service model to citizens. And the importance of understanding how to bring everybody to the tent, listen to all their interests, and make sure everything's involved before you bring it forward. And on the committee, there are a lot of different interests: housing, planning, conservation. We need to make sure everybody's interests are represented before we bring it to you. So we have a good proposal and a good outcome possible. The third thing is, right now I am a volunteer board member on the American Platform Tennis Association. It's a sport tennis. Sorry? Paddle tennis, yes. So Scituate Racket and Fitness has a facility, that's I'm a member of over on 3A. But we're a 35,000 member organization. We run nearly 300 tournaments a year, essentially national champions at all skill levels. I serve as treasurer. And I also oversee the grants and loans committee. Why that's important to you is that I have experience in grant making and bringing proposals through to recommendation stage and then to boards for votes. And what we do there, our mission is to provide financial assistance to grow the sport in municipalities and park districts and multi-sport clubs like Scituate Racket Fitness and out of its roots in the country club. So I think those 3 things can be important to the committee. Finally, I'll just say that I spent time on the phone with Dan Fenley recently, talking about the process of the committee, the projects, and the impact it's had on the town. And you could just hear the pride in his voice. And I thought that'd be a great to be part of.
He's very passionate. He's great.
So thank you.
Thank you. That's fabulous.
Good to
see you again. How are you?
Very well, how things. My name is John Hamacher, the last of 9 kids. Parents were active in rulemaking and bylaws for the town of Scituate in the 80s, and the state 67s and 76 came out. I became my brother's guardian, he's multiple handicapped, in 2019, and I'm his current guardian. He's had a lot of problems, not a lot of activity for him and other people in the community in the group home that I see when I'm out, or mostly beach.
he had to have surgery this year, so he's not likely to be on the beach this year. But I was talking to the beach, waterways commission last year and get better ramps out at mine. The town administrator moved the New Jersey Ferry up and Gannett Road. There's a lot of improvements there. There's not access to the road direct from the beach. For a van, his type of van, his type of van is an up and down rear van kind of thing. But, I spent 18 years as a special advisor to the Situate Friends and Handicap Commission, 21 years in Knights Columbus. I know my brother's community. He just turned 59 in February, so it's just there's like a gap between people who were born before 72 and went into the system, and people now building affordable homes, accessory dwellings. The former chairperson has their son over by the beach. He's brother of someone who we all know, a couple floors down. So just the whole community isn't being addressed because they can't get addressed. Right? They help, they give a program, the back and forth, the program, the back and five. They don't have time to enjoy the music down at any restaurants. I'm trying to get my brothers to go out, trying to find folks not to spend their own money. State employees are reimbursed at a net cap basis, so they lose money when they take people out. For the last 2 years, I've been doing Senator O'Connor's office and Rep. Kennedy's office. Other issues that's going on over there on Durham Road. I got too much in my head to sit here and not,
I try to do something.
not move the needle.
Right.
Not just move the needle on a small basis. The ADA Act been around since 1990 and there's problems with beaches on a small basis, but not an absolute basis. There's no bathhouses, there's no direct access. Mine has barriers in front of the causeway there. They're blocked. I don't know why they're blocked. So there should, there's no up and down to the water line for anyone who's in a wheelchair, whether they're paraplegic, quadriplegic, they can get themselves up and out in the water or have to move in the water. So just trying to wrap things up that way. Just mostly access and visibility.
John, can I ask you a quick
Yep.
question?
Yep.
Are you applying for the Commission on Disabilities or the beach? Because I've got two different backs.
So then
Is it both?
it's all three. It was the Harbor Commission, the
This
beach.
top course was Commission on Disability. If you have a new piece of paper potentially on your desk.
No, I'm going by the back. Okay. Sorry about
All
that.
right, I should have told you that there's anyone.
Okay.
Number one fix.
Right.
You're number one. Okay. One of my backups said beach and one said.
So the harbor, I grew up in the
So
harbor on
so
his lab.
Your first choice is Commission on Disabilities.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Now that I'm-
All right.
Anything else you want?
Thank you.
Good for now.
Okay.
We're gonna go to Chris, who's on. How are you?
Hi, I'm well, thanks. My name's Chris Riccio. I'm excited to have the opportunity to here apply for the open position of the Conservation Commission. Right now I work from home and I live right on the beach. So I guess you can say I'll be working almost 24/7 to keep my eye on the natural resources here in Scituate for the commission. I'm working with several companies that are trying to combat climate change in my regular work. And for several years, I have served on several nonprofit national and local boards and committees. Currently, I'm working on getting certified with the Mass Association of Conservation Commissions to be certified as a certified conservation commissioner. Their course is a certificate program that covers all duties, roles, laws, et cetera, for that position. And after the robust course, it carries the certification for conservation commissioner through them. I also have the time to serve now. In fact, I had so much time that I went through the Scituate Community TV channel on YouTube and watched as many Conservation Commission meetings that I could find throughout the years. And I saw the issues that were handled and how it was being looked at, what questions were asked, and how they were answered to see real life examples of how things work with the commission over a large period of time, projects, and policies. I myself actually went through a full Conservation Commission process recently, and I actually saw how technically heavy it was with the state and town requirements. So I'd love to also help develop ways to assist other residents navigate that process, whether by putting together a step-by-step guide or tutorials that work with the already useful FAQs on the website. I'm hoping applicants will not need to feel like they need to hire like legal counsel or other professionals to go through the entire process, because I realize that that incurs a lot of additional fees. And I hope to help make the process easier to understand so that homeowners can represent themselves and make the process a little less daunting. And I'd love to just work with the residents to help them get their project approved in some form so that they can hopefully get the spirit of what they're looking for, but also the regulations and protections that the natural resources have are protected as well at the same time. Because living on the ocean, I can see, firsthand how important the safeguarding that area is and how powerful the ocean is and how to protect homeowners. So I'm looking to have the opportunity to add my experience to the commission where I can and learn everything I can from others to help the residents of Scituate while protecting the conservation areas of our town.
Thank you so much. There's so many amazing people, again, resumes. Listen, thank you all for stepping forward and help the town. Questions? You may not have some, but anything for everyone or?
He answered a lot.
Yeah. Nothing yet? You good?
I think they all did a very good job
I'm impressed.
there.
I hate making these decisions. But we will.
Thank you.
I don't have a question about anybody's enthusiasm.
No, I mean, we get these, we had some interviews from previous weeks. So much thank you for coming out, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. We'll get back to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we can. So what?
No, we're going to our attorney.
We're gonna get our attorney.
Can we do
He's
that?
on the
Wait,
clock.
I'm here for all.
We're on the clock.
We're on
Come
the
up.
clock here with the attorney fees. I have some questions.
So now, and we're all over the map today. We're
Lease
going to
agreement.
lease the leases of our historic properties. Historic properties, which is on page. Hold on.
That's like the way,
161.
161. All right, so. How are you? Well, how about you? All right, good. Tell us about these recommendations. Take us through it.
I don't have too much to say. I mean, the ask of me was, as I understand it, that the town has a slew of historic properties that some are under memorandums of understanding, some are under leases, some are under things that I'm not really sure what they're under. And basically, the sort of directive for me was this can be standardized. Can we sort of get all these properties under one type of agreement? And so that's really what I prepared. It's a pretty basic residential lease agreement for the occupants for historic properties. They put language in that recognizes the historic nature of the properties. They're not your typical apartment. You don't want people doing things even like nail holes or whatever, because it may compromise the historic nature. And, I put in the ability to sort of customize them because each property is a little different. The occupants, the caretakers, tours, many different things. So this is really the result. It's sort of a standard lease agreement that town staff can use and plug in things or change things as they need to change things that hopefully isn't really going to require my involvement with too much. No legal fees, unless someone wants me to review a specific provision or something that you can use on a go-forward basis. I don't really have too much else to say about it. Happy to answer any questions about it.
And again, for our new members, there was a few, we didn't have anything.
Everything except for one is outdated.
Yes.
they're all outdated, some have none.
Yeah, some, so I mean, you're going back years and years, we have nothing. So we're trying to kind of modernize and have an actual lease.
So, one question I have is when you say that you wanna make them customizable, but each property is slightly different, honestly, that makes sense. Is there, so they're trying to make as much of a boilerplate as possible, additional to sort of a section that would itemize different levels for different products.
Yeah, like a couple of different places, like one is if the tenant's like a caretaker or something, if we have additional responsibilities above and beyond just tenant.
That'd be an addendum.
In
Or
this-
maybe 21.
You could make it an addendum, I think in this one, it could be inserted in paragraph 4, but you could just say see addendum or whatever, and do it from there. So whatever is, to me, whatever is easiest, most repeatable, and requires the least amount of sort of original thought, not that staff can't do original thought, but the more we do the same process over and over again, the safer we are from human error mistakes.
So I had a question on, there's a clause on damage, but it's only related to storm damage. Is there a reason why we would put something related to if the tenant damaged something?
If they damage something, it's still damage to property, it's still actionable, I think certainly add something in. Sometimes we see what that is.
So it's 7, and
Yep.
all of the damage listed was not caused by the negligence of the tenant.
Yeah,
So
we can put something.
I was
about
thinking
damage.
there should be something caught, that if something's caused by the negligence of the tenant, so that the town is protected.
That's easy enough.
I get that. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And then my other question, the fees seem like incredibly low. Is that really the fee that we have for a late, for a check, return check is $5? The tenant shall pay the town a return check fee charge of $5. But the town pays $25?
Yeah, we would charge $25.
Okay, so we need to change 5, that seemed like, I even looked it up, I don't know a bank that, I don't know anyone that only charges $5. So you say 25, can we change that? I would also request, it's paragraph 3.
Yep.
A return check, $5, and then a late charge equal to $25? Is that another?
The late charge we need to be a little careful about, because the general laws do limit based on the amount of rent that you pay.
Yeah, I always
Limits
thought it
the
was a
amount.
percentage, I usually thought that a late charge needs to be a percentage of the rent.
It is a percentage of the rent, so
So
we
can
can
we
set it
just
as
do
that
that?
in the lease. I tried just to use the number again, just to make it. I used a number that was low enough that it should flip with the statute. If we want to change it to a percent, we can do that. That's fine. Just means someone has to calculate that,
I guess they could mess that up, I
If
don't
the only
know,
two-
that's
the only-
just typically what
The
we
only
would
two,
charge.
the only two standardized fees in this agreement are $25 and
I think that's the way to go.
It's simple.
Okay, then do it 25.
Something will cost $25.
Well, and the other thing too is unlike your typical landlord who wants sort of like, they usually want to lock you in for a year. I made this a month-to-month lease. The way I view it is that if we have a problem with the tenant, and we just don't renew it for the next month. We don't have to go through an eviction process or anything.
Right.
So we really shouldn't be, in my view, racking up a whole bunch of fees. That's sort of an indicator that maybe we need to move on.
Oh, no, I totally agree, I just don't want us to pay a
Yeah.
return check fee higher than what they're charging.
But technically, would not a return check fee also prescribe a late fee? Because now that your check is bounced, so now you're not only
Yeah,
bounced
so you
check,
got
you're also
$50.
late, so you're gonna get it $50. I think that's.
Agree, okay, those were my questions.
That's good. I have no question, I think that's great, I like your comments.
Questions, comments? Yes, sir.
Thank you for people having never having seen this, having done this my entire career. Are there indemnifications and liabilities and insurance requirements built into this?
Yes.
There's indemnification, yes.
Insurance. Yes. Insurance, yes. What was the third one?
Subrogation.
Liability, insurance and indemnification. In other words,
Insurance,
If
yeah.
it-
Yes, and notification of a lease is number 11.
Yes, that's number 11.
just to ask you.
No, please, thank you.
Great.
That's why, thank you.
So what do we need to do, Mr. Chairman? Is there I don't, again, the way it's written, the motion is written very different here.
To approve, yes.
I wanted to know where the board wanted to go on this. I didn't know town council was coming, so this was very fortuitous. Once town council makes the edits that were discussed tonight, I didn't know if the board wanted it to go back and then work with Scituate Historical to fill in the gaps, the insert years, and then bring it back to the board for final approval. If you were happy with the template.
We're basically approving the actual template of the lease. Each lease is gonna have to go with the purpose for each property anyway, because.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you want to review what was in them before.
Yeah, let's
With-
do,
with
with those
corrections.
two corrections.
With
Right.
corrections.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they come, go. Perfect. Go ahead.
Motion to accept, what do we want to call this?
Template?
Lease template.
Motion to accept the standardized lease agreement template for historical properties with those, with the amendments agreed to at this meeting for all historical properties within the town of Scituate, effective immediately.
Moved by Mr. Gilmore, seconded by Ms. Harrison, all in favor?
Aye.
Well done. Thank you. Excellent, thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. Turn the clock off. Turn the clock off.
No, we gotta drive home. We pay for travel.
Oh, tell my partners, I'm not charging you for travel.
You're a gentleman. You're a gentleman, a scholar, even though you are not. Don't put that in the results.
Let's, Nancy, I cannot wait, so, are we getting methanol yet? No, yes, we are. That's top methanol.
It's gassy.
It is gassy. And some good news, somewhat, for the FEMA stuff, right?
Yes. So the first contract
All
for
right, hold on, we are on page
All over the board.
136, we were doing Univar of Morrisville, Pennsylvania, awarding of contracts, page 136. First one's methanol.
So this should probably be the last chemical contract for you for fiscal 26. The others have either been awarded and signed by Jim or been awarded by the board previously. This is methanol, which is chemical used by the wastewater treatment plant and treatment of the effluent. Univar was the low bidder in the Eastern Mass Chemical Cooperative bid. It is actually going down from $1.28 to $1.80 a gallon, plus the DRP, which is the index, the methanol index, that gets added to it with every bill. So the request is for a contract to low bidder for not to exceed $300,000 at the unit price of $1.08 per gallon, plus the DRP.
Again, this is the whole state bid.
Eastern Mass
Yeah,
Chemical
that's the
Cooperative.
collaborative, right, so here we go. This is our price.
And it went down.
It went down, so we'll take it.
Miracle. I have something that went down. I don't have any questions.
No
I read
questions, no
everything.
questions, not much.
Motion.
Take a motion. So,
Move to award the contract to Univar, Morrisville, Pennsylvania, to provide methanol in the unit cost of $1.08 per pound, plus MNDRP for an aggregate amount not to exceed $300,000 for fiscal year 2026.
Mr. Gilmore, second by. Second. Mr. Schlegel. Here, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
And we're asking the board, please table the award of contract to some pro eco contracting for the FEMA seawall and weather repairs. We were waiting for approval from FEMA Region 1 for part of this. It's been going on for months. We were told to put it up to bid. We did. We are in a 90-day bid window, which will expire at your next meeting. So we have one more meeting to try to get this done before the bid will expire and we'll have to rebid it. I did speak to our FEMA rep today, and they were uncomfortable with the board taking any action until FEMA put it in writing that everything was okay. So,
What are the chances
gets approved.
that it gets approved.
It should get approved, but it's finding its way through Region One. We meet every 2 weeks about this, and this is our big issue, is that you told us to put it out to bid, we put it out to bid, we put it out to bid, did return on it, and now you can't give us the answer. Half of the work in the contract is already fine to go with FEMA, the other half is not, so it's quite a bit of a liability if we go ahead on our own. So,
Has somebody talked to some eco people and told what's going on?
they're aware, they want to start immediately, and they're in the 90-day window, so
But
it's
they're not gonna have a problem if we wait 2 weeks.
they don't have an option, they're still in their 90-day
They're
period.
still out of the price.
After that, we'll have to begin it.
After that, the price goes up.
Well, it'll be revetted, but I'm sure you're right.
Just as a point, this next meeting, so I'm still in Africa. So, that's
Oh, yeah, 4 votes.
So hopefully.
You can always join us by Zoom.
If you're not doing it in
Alright, it will be
practice,
tabled.
please don't say
either on
that,
a plane or sleep.
please.
I turn Zoom on.
Alright, we're now actually on to new business. We can discuss board and committee appointments. Well, there's.
So where do you want to start with? Community preservation?
There's two, one with two that.
Then what, the new piece of paper that's on your desk is the correct. You have 3 applicants for community preservation for 1 open spot.
So,
2 of which you interviewed at your last meeting, Elise Russo and Aaron Bright.
Yeah, CPC, 3 people, with only 1 opening. Conservation has.
Conservation now has 2, they had a resignation today, so they have 2
2
openings
openings.
today, they have 3
3
people.
people.
Did Robbie,
Richard Hardy.
not,
No.
process was not.
Yes.
No, Robbie is all in on
Robbie is,
conservation.
all the people on your sheet.
oh, somebody resigned from conservation
Yes.
and now we have 2.
Originally, you only had 1 position, you now have 2
Okay.
positions.
2
So
openings.
you have
Okay.
3
2
people
openings.
for 2 positions.
And then Commission on Disability, Beach and Beautification,
One on one.
well, 1 person.
No, Beach does 2.
Beach was 1 and 2.
Oh, Beach does have 2, I'm sorry. So Erin Brighton, who you also had on CPC, her second choice was Beach. So you could, if she does not get put on CPC, you could appoint her to the Beach.
Yeah, that's what I was actually quoting.
And
What was?
the Beach has 1 or 2 openings.
2 openings.
Oh, Beach has 2 openings.
Beach has 2 openings.
Alright, so, and Beach has 2 openings.
And then the last one should say beautification, because Erica was beautification, not Beach.
I really liked Robbie Burgess from last time for conservation. That's probably my top choice of all the things we met last time.
Yeah, I would agree, I'm the liaison for that committee, and they actually lost an engineer.
The fact that he was.
Recently, and that would be a very good addition to the
Civil
committee.
engineer.
He is
correct.
interviewing for the planning board.
He's not.
He-
We decided not to.
He's leaving his application here with you and conservation. It's your decision to decide whether you want to put him on conservation. If he doesn't go on conservation, then he's welcome to join planning and interview for that position. So you guys hold
Do we
the.
have 2 positions on the?
We do, I wanna put him on.
I would like to, I would support him and this Chris Riccio fellow because.
I agree with that.
I like the other guy,
Roger.
Roger.
I do.
Okay.
Big preference between Roger and Chris, honestly.
Alright. Do you have any thoughts?
For the conservation.
Yes.
I thought it was easy because I thought Robbie was going for planning and we could just pick the other 2 guys because they're all so fabulous. But unfortunately, I liked I guess I'd go with Chris and Robbie.
Person, you're the liaison.
Yeah,
And you've heard.
I've spoken with the committee as well.
Maybe you're thinking Robbie.
All right.
I am.
All right, so it seems it's pretty universal for Robbie. Got. Nico, where are you? Are you with Roger or are you with Chris?
I think given
You're right.
Susan's the liaison and she's already spoken to the committee about it, I would probably vote for Roger.
You got Roger. All right.
I didn't dislike Roger, I liked it.
No, they're all, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at, look, the conservation does two different, like, they do a lot of the orders and conditions and stuff, and they really need help with an engineer. And then they do a lot of like outside work, like they have maintain all the properties. Yeah, all around town from North Island into, so they, that's where their two needs are, and that was what those two applicants are. And it's not, I mean, they're all, again, this is like, these are hard decisions, and I'm more looking at what the committee currently make up of the committee and what they need. So I'm not by any means
At the
saying
end of groups.
they're all great.
There's not necessarily a reason Chris would be interested in for the planning.
Oh, that is true.
That is true.
We seem to have.
I mean, like all those
seem to have interest in
certifications and
technical
stuff,
backgrounds.
yeah.
Having certain planning, that's part of it.
That is true.
So see, I'm now feeling consensus for Roger. Seems, okay.
I mean, it's based, because I think they're very hard decisions, but partly it's based on what
The committee.
the
needs.
committee
Right.
needs currently versus what the committee
And maybe
needs
Chris
10
can talk to
years
the
from
planner.
now, you know, and yeah, we can reach out and let them know about it.
Love it.
And it's not up on the motion here because it was separate, but Amaker was actually here for disabilities, right? You have a position on disabilities.
Yeah, that was why I was confused.
But we can take him out of running for the others to give his first choice on disabilities.
Yep, you can.
Yeah.
Yep, he's one opening, one person. So that's, and then for beach, you've got Lizzie who was here, I think we all thought, seems.
Whatever they,
And then Aaron.
And then Aaron, who wants to do that.
whatever they.
All right, so Aaron and Lizzie on beach. Beautification.
Sorry, on
Erica.
Erica.
Oh, okay, I was
Just
just
here.
wondering.
confused for Eric, yeah, so.
Erica was here, no issues, and.
Erica is beautification.
Beautification, she's fine.
Alright, so it's just the.
So now the last one, it's now between Lisa and John. For. CPC.
I would like Lisa Russo because I know her capabilities and she is retiring, would like to retire as chairman of the advisory. Extremely high talented person. That's who I would like to, I was very impressed with this gentleman tonight. Not to say that I hope he kindly put the time over and do big change, but there's only one seat over.
Did he
Is there anything else? Yeah, because they're both very strong candidates. Well, all three, the CPC, I thought all three were very strong candidates. All three of them. One's doing beach, one we can appoint to beach, but like they were all very strong.
Yeah.
Big planning.
Right, so,
And
all right,
leads, so.
we're.
Yeah, John did not put anything else, just CPC.
We can reject to see if there's.
I mean, Elise has served before for some time and she's, obviously interested in taking a different role. I think that's, experience and cognitive value. I think that she's, putting more effort in town. I love when people want to step up and do something. I hate discouraging somebody from, that idea, but I think that Elise, her experience already working in town and having a good resume to move is.
And exactly.
Thoughts, concerns? We're good.
Can I also state one other thing, that the planning board gets a seat on the CPC. So, CPC is like 4 at-large members that we appoint, right, isn't it? And then planning, conservation, and recreation, and
Advisory.
Advisory gets, so liaison seat, so.
You're saying if we were to reach out to Chris to ask him to try to.
Or,
reach out to
or
managers,
John
it's still
too,
good.
yeah, both of them, that's another way to be involved. But I agree, I'm just saying, both of them, that's another way to be involved and still have some sort of. But I do, yeah, I really think Elisa has a really good background, she really understands it. I was also impressed when she talked about, she was understanding the, everything with CPC, including the housing and important to it. You know, like land, a lot of folks
Yeah.
talk about the land, but she hasn't talked about the housing and, how that is important for CPC funding. Anyway.
Yeah, I think for me.
But it's hard
at least
decision, it's
about
hard.
Stuff to turn anybody down.
All right, so. I will.
Look, I gave you a new motion.
It's,
Yeah, right.
There's, yeah.
Here we go.
The trees.
It's right here.
Oh, here.
Our vice chair.
You're gonna do that one next.
You do it.
We're doing move to appoint Elise Rousseau to Community Preservation Act Committee for a term of 2 years or until a successor is named. Move to appoint Robbie Burgess and Roger Carroll to the Conservation Commission for a term of 3 years or until a successor is named. Move to appoint John Hamaker to the Commission on Disabilities for a term of 3 years or until a successor is named. Further move to appoint Lizzie Capio Piscatello and Aaron Brighton to the Beach Commission for a term of 3 years or until a successor is named. And move to appoint Erica Navarro Cushing to the Beach Commission for a term of, Beautification Commission for a term of 3 years or until a successor.
Second. Moved by Sarah, seconded by, Mr. Gilmore. All in favor? Aye. It is unanimous. All right. Next, the establishment of the Cushing Land Reuse Committee. So this is just creating the committee. So this is, what are we gonna do with the old Cushing site? Putting together a group of folks to come back with a recommendation. What page?
That was like 167, I think.
167, she's right.
They're not the money.
The one thing we do need to iron out is make sure folks are who precisely we want on.
I have one name of person that sent us correspondence volunteer, we met him at school.
Right. So how would we do this for Pier 44 and other ones? There's some that we can ask, like the recreation department, they nominate someone. School committee can have someone. So you see, we sign different committees and then, 5 general folks from all the students. And they go in.
So it's the, commissions and then.
Correct. And we would have the authority to chart that we should amend that. To add or take someone off.
Right.
So rec. Obviously, school, communities is a former school.
Well, this is for the Cushing, the Cushing school.
Yeah.
No, it won't be a school, it's gonna be the Cushing site of the school being demolished.
The land use.
It will be left, we've already decided, Cushing school's taken down, that is not being revisited, it will be a blank slate, so it's like, what are we gonna do with this blank slate? Is the charge.
Oh, we discussed something with food bank.
We
Right.
discussed a lot of things, I also think there should be a food pantry rec
So you
there.
could have rec, someone from the school committee, food pantry, so rec, school, food pantry. And the argument for the school will be because construction times and what's happening, they're just more knowledgeable of the area.
Well, they're giving it to us, right?
All right.
Just
Okay.
saying,
We
like
could
the
take-
whole thing of this.
We do rec food pantry, just 5 general citizens.
Yeah. I just wanna make sure when we're appointing the citizens, that they're not every single one of them is butter. That's my only, I want a butters, but I also want other perspective.
Town office.
Yeah.
So housing is
That's-
absolutely not an option.
So what's not?
Housing.
That's something they can look at. I think it's gonna be.
It's old for that.
It is.
So it's municipal use only, so it's library, museum, school or housing.
Yeah, it's a residential zone, so it's residential, and won't be municipal use with fields or municipal use. Food pantry would be allowed in there, would be some spot for that, but housing is definitely allowed, it's a residential zone.
So we suggest having some housing authority on.
I mean, I'm not, we don't know what we're doing, we need.
Almost it should be considered.
Yeah, I think it needs to be considered. If we have nobody on the housing authority or whatever.
Affordable housing trust.
Affordable housing trusts.
That's what they are involved.
Just in terms of the discussions, since we're talking about that, I think the point of having someone from food pantry be sort of an automatic representative would be because of the feeling that the food pantry needs to have a.
We're doing something at Gates.
Right.
We're
But
gonna.
if we completely extinguish the idea that in the rebuild over there, the food pantry can't possibly fit over there. I know it's not in the current.
I don't know how they would be able to fit in the property.
And the traffic issues would.
And here's, yeah.
That's fine, I understand.
Food pantry has the money. Either to buy land or to build a building. So if we give them some land, they can build the building.
Right.
So it's a no cost scenario for most things to us. For them to remove themselves and develop something new, brighter, bigger, pleasant. It's some land we're gonna give them. We don't give them a land, we give them a lease, I guess, lease. So it's a no, it's like a partnership.
I understand that.
That's
The reason I'm asking, yeah, I get it, that's fine. Well, I'm not against it at all, just curious.
At this point, it remains to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, it could be like, this is not a great spot for us, at least they know that, because I guess part of it, we know the concern is that there might be highly likely, highly likely to be moved. Here's an opportunity, to at least be on there and say, maybe this is right, or maybe that's not right. Maybe this is not the right spot.
There's certainly a lot of food pantry in Scituate, that's not a question, so.
Yeah.
But,
All right. Affordable housing trust, food pantry. Rec is 3. And then
Should we have something from like engineering or DPW?
Yeah, like.
There would be, on the committee, there'd be liaisons are available to the committee. The site has one thing that's worth its weight in gold.
Community preservation.
Sewer line is what it had. That's why the food pantry would, most of the land that they would look at don't have, if you have to send it. It's
What about
sewer guy.
CP3?
So, what you would want them on the committee, because they're gonna
No.
potentially vote on whatever's coming out of it. If it's gonna be a recreation or a housing use, we're gonna be doing that for money.
Yeah.
So they're not a conflict of power.
That's good, right now. And then we
and
have
no,
open.
we don't want school. Taking school out. I mean, only because it's also adjacent to that.
It's adjacent.
Enough for that,
they're gonna have a discussion with school committee anyway. School committee is gonna have perspective given. It's not a school and they're adjacent, so I think going to school and asking their perspective is encouraged and probably necessary, but I don't know how much school, yeah, I'd rather have honestly, I'd rather be as many spots open for members from the
I would
community.
agree.
So that the wider community has
Good sense in there.
All right, and we like five citizens.
Sure.
So how many would that?
Let's
So that's 8, that's an even number, we don't want to.
6 citizens.
6.
6.
How do you feel about that?
So with that, perfect. All right. Clerk, I'll take a motion to accept site reuse.
Can you give me the list so I know what I'm trying to say?
The rec department, food pantry,
Motion
for us.
Motion to form the Cushing Site Reuse Committee as proposed in the evening's meeting with 6 citizen members,
Rec, food pantry,
rec, food pantry, and affordable housing members.
Mr. Gilmore, second. Second. Sure. Ms. Harrison, I'm giving you that one. I is yes.
Oh, wait.
Where is it now?
Sorry. Unanimous or not?
Come
All
on,
right,
take it out.
disclosure.
I gave you a new sheet, so Jim, that sheet you just had in your hand, it added one name to the bottom.
Which sheet is this?
For the 20 Bs.
This one here?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I can do this if you want me.
I would love you to.
And you want to discuss it at all, Mr. Chair, at all?
Do you, well, you need to, I mean, this is just people saying.
No, we're not discussing.
No.
It's
It is.
It's the people that make us summer employment.
Yeah, teachers who also like do something.
So forgive me if I mispronounce the name, but
Here we go.
happy to go. Motion, move that the Board of Select Board, as required by Massachusetts General Ledger, Chapter 268A, have reviewed the disclosure forms for the following municipal employees who seek to provide personal services to Scituate Recreation. The exemption under Section 20B is approved for the following municipal employees: Adam Brucechow, SPS Teacher, Summer Recreation Program Co-Director; Amanda Kent, SPS Teacher, Summer Recreation Program Director; Andy Barlow, SPS Teacher, Summer Recreation Program Director; Andrew Cortez, SPS Teacher, Summer Recreation Program Director; Caroline Burns, SPS Teacher, Summer Recreation Senior Instructor; David Jordan, SPS Coach, Summer Recreation Senior Instructor; David Mahary, SPS Basketball Coach, Summer Recreation Senior Instructor; Ellen Burke, SPS Teacher, Recreation Indoor Cycling Instructor; Aaron Culbert, SPS Teacher, Recreation Program Director; Gail Hedstrom, Senior Center and Recreation Employee; Jessica Whittier, SPS Teacher, Summer Recreation Program Director; Jim Thomas, SPS Teacher, Summer Recreation Program Co-Director; Laura Burton, SPS Teacher, Recreation Instructor; Laura Counter, SPS Teacher, Recreation Instructor; Lisa Howell, SPS Substitute Teacher, Recreation Instructor; Matthew Poirier, SPS Teacher, Summer Recreation Program Director; Megan Baird, SPS Teacher, Summer Recreation Program Director; Michael Ehrman, SPS Basketball Coach, Summer Recreation Senior Instructor; Paul Papadonis, SPS Substitute Teacher, Recreation Program Director; Sarah Lynn, Senior Center and Recreation Instructor; Tom Connor, Widows Walk, Recreation Baseball Director; Brian Hickox, SBS Teacher, SPD Special Police Officer.
Mr. Gilmore, seconded by?
Second.
Schlegel, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. All right, election workers, again, these lists are given to us by, well, they're given to the clerk, the down list, Republican list, make sure. All right, questions, comments before we
I do
take a
not,
motion?
they're the same name, and we thank them for their service.
Definitely, thank you.
Yes. All right,
It looks like there's a lot of new people that.
There are, but there are also the tried and true. We thank everyone on this.
No, I will move to appoint the election workers from the approved list submitted by the Democrat and Republican town committee chairs.
Mr. Gilmore, seconded by Ms. Harrison. All in favor?
Aye.
Election workers, slightly different,
Oh, the supplemental list.
supplementalists. So again, these are the other volunteers. Again, these are usually unrolled, so can't show up.
Move to appoint the following election workers from the town clerk's supplemental list.
Mr. Gilmore?
Second. Sure.
Second, all in favor? Aye. All right, it's approved, it is, sorry about that. Well, we're gonna get to liaison assignments, but before that, we have liaisons, yeah? Anyone have any liaison on?
I just have one, we've been invited to attend the event for honoring a special person for Sister City.
Oh, yeah.
Ireland on night of the 28th, Saturday.
Brenda O'Connor.
I'm trying to not, it's supposed to be a surprise for her, so I'm trying to not have it on.
Hopefully this is not what you're watching.
Yeah, maybe she's asleep.
She's on, she's got a question.
I'm sorry, I did not know that. That was not my instructions.
But if you could be there, that would be great. Because I think there's 6 o'clock. That's.
Good. And let's get.
Can I make a couple of observations after my year of liaison?
Yes.
I'd like to see if you all consider changing the program a little bit with some value adds. One, I don't get every time I talk to these people when they're meeting. They do change. If they could be required to send us when they're meeting, an invite, a formal invite, just like we get our meeting posted.
They don't email an agenda?
Mine do.
Not all.
No. Okay.
Aren't they required to post an agenda?
Well, that's the next thing, posting the agenda, a lot of them just post the same boilerplate agenda. New business, old business, with a couple of points in it. So how do we get more information if we can't go to all the meetings? I'd like them to at least maybe we do one meeting per quarter. We're all, maybe we gotta do it one night, where we bring in certain committees to update us where they're at, and what they're doing. Because that makes the liaison a little less necessary to be there, but also makes everybody else more informed. Because I can't remember everything that I see in the meetings. So, 2 things I'd like to know.
I like the idea of having them come in, I would have said maybe twice a year to update the board.
Doesn't each one require?
Is it always fun? Well, I'll say this broadly, when we have our retreat meeting, this is definitely one of it, it's like, for me, my top 3 for us to talk about. But there's also, yes, supposed to, well, we're supposed to, I was in the charge, so, again, speaking of the universal,
You know, I read your notes, and again, it has to do with the quality of the notes.
Right.
So you're not, when you're reading and you're already a week or 2 behind and you gotta call and ask a question. I mean, if we could get them to come in, whether it's a half year or quarterly, then maybe not all of them, maybe we decide that there's a more intense committee that we'd like to see more often. I mean, beautification, for example, is a wonderful committee. They pretty well have their stuff together, we pretty well know what their mandate is. So that's not as important as some of the other ones that.
Well, and I think that I like the idea of your first point of having them somehow make sure that they inform uphill, because it's, each of us has 7 or 8 of these. It's very difficult for us to keep track of on the basis.
It's way to get stuff found out, it's crazy.
Yes. I'm not sure the quality of notes is something you're gonna be able to prove a mandate.
Well, no, I don't think you will, but if you have a meet with them, you can.
And I think that the flip side of that is, in theory, most of these commissions and committees have a incentivized value for reporting, because ostensibly they're probably gonna be asking us for things throughout the year. And I think trying to somehow incentivize them to do so. And one of those could be part of the charge report.
Yeah, cool. We have a retreat, there's
Yeah,
a couple of things, because there might need to be some consolidation or.
Well, let's think about that.
Yeah,
That's all.
no, it's not, I love the planning to see. Yeah. All right,
My other question was simply in terms of the list. I had talked to Andrew about this, and I talked a little to Frey about this last couple weeks ago. Should I assume that at the moment, if the three pre-existing members are listed, that you want to keep all your current committee assignments?
so what's gonna, no, so what we're about to do, I'm gonna start at the top, go down, talk to a few, that like the chair has to be on. But no, I mean, no one is forced, and there can be more than one liaison for a few, so like financial forecast. We'll go
usually
on
it's
there.
chair, vice chair.
Right, there's some that just traditionally it's.
No, I just didn't know if that three.
No, yeah, so if you wanna-
looking to get rid of, because I'm perfectly happy with the picks that.
Yeah, well, we'll go through the list, so advisory always typically is the chair, so I'll stick with there. Affordable Housing Trust, Jamie, comfortable if you want.
I'm comfortable with that.
Everyone. Good. Animal Control Board, hopefully you never have to.
Brenda, you're doing it? Brenda?
Yeah,
Meets only when necessary.
perfect.
Yeah, only,
Yeah, but
all right. Beach, you sticking with the beach? You want to,
I mean, if someone wants it, it's fun. They do beach cleanups, I'm probably going to clean up Sunday.
anyone,
It's a good community. Someone wants to do it, I'm okay.
I'm a happy little is what I was looking.
okay,
I'm fine keeping it too.
all right, Susan's sticking with beach, beautification.
Beautification could be better. I went on it because, one of my good friends stepped forward and volunteered for it, so I said, all right, you're gonna be on it, I'll be on it.
They're the best.
They're wonderful people,
They're
they
great.
have their act together, they know what they're doing.
So does beach, yes.
So, but if somebody here, great, if you guys wanna do it, it's your call, otherwise I'll leave it. I've never had to go to a meeting.
No, there you go.
They're the ones that come to you, like, here's what's happening.
They do.
They're amazing. All right,
So I'm staying on that.
bicycle.
I'll take it if anybody is.
Yeah, anyone, no, all right, you're biking. Board of Health. Yeah. I'll take it, nobody seems to want that one, I'll take Board of Health. There you go.
It's in your packet, or your,
Okay,
I think you got
take it right back.
All right,
you don't have to get rid of yourself.
yeah, we need bylaw.
Then we just, isn't Karen put Karen Campbell on?
They are, but
On the bylaw review.
I don't wanna bury the lead, but I do know someone who wants to go, I'm not sure. You'll take bylaw, or take bylaw? There's no more cable television
You got rid of that.
today.
Seth asked us to get rid of it.
Who, just out of curiosity, because I had some resident questions about cable.
It's, talk to Seth, it's,
Okay, fair enough.
capital planning is typically made, well, someone else. No?
Literally no one
All
wants
right, coastal advisory.
What does that even entail?
Forms, Karen.
I'll take it.
I'm gonna say Karen.
Is
I
it,
think it was Karen, yeah.
They want to
Karen
do.
Conley.
Karen Conley.
is it like
I think it was.
like the rivers?
Yes,
Right?
Walls, erosion.
yes.
Right, okay.
Commission on Disability.
What about?
Wait, Cole Parkway redevelopment.
Oh, I'm
which is
sorry.
Pier 44.
I'll take full park rate.
Sure.
And over here, one full parkway. No. You go. Commission on Disability.
That's what we want. Oh, wait, no,
There you go. Let's say, no, that's okay.
no.
CTC. What?
I could take that if you want me to,
I was gonna suggest that you can have it.
but I'll trade something
Jamie.
else off.
Try something, all right.
Take that.
So Jamie's on CPC.
You wanna trade that for beautification?
Yeah, take it.
There you go.
Okay, I'll trade you CPC for beautification.
I'll see you on CPC, raising certification. All right, conservation. All right, keep Susan on there, council on aging.
Yeah. That's a good group.
Freya is on that one. Yes,
I have another thing to talk about. We said this before, and I thought it should be connected to conservation. The North River Commission, we appoint 2 people, and they're like left on an island, and I think we have to have liaisons to talk about. And I am
So the
willing,
North River.
North River Commission, I'm willing to do that because I do think it's connected to, conservation.
Susan Harrison is our new North River liaison.
Excellent.
I don't see it on this list.
It's not, there hasn't been one.
It's a commission that we appoint 2 members and then other towns appoint members. And
More like a county.
it's more like a county thing, but I think they might need some support. And knowing that we support them and what they do.
All right, DEI, I love it, you're on. DEI.
The problem with DEI is it meets on Tuesday nights when we meet.
That is the problem.
That's the challenge there.
I mean, that's the challenge with a bunch of.
Or send an email.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry about this. That's
I got a sweaty brow.
Economic development.
Because it's a good idea.
Do you wanna share that one?
Council on Aging.
I
For the business.
There you go.
Yeah. It's really that way you can split your time.
Yeah, no, I prefer planning than EDC.
All right, so he goes on EDC. Okay, we're gonna plan it, financial forecast, yeah, we should say that there. All right, historic and housing. Jamie, you still want those? Anyone itching for those? You okay with those?
If anybody wants them.
I mean, I would take historic if you don't want it.
Go ahead, Fred, you do that. There's a lot to learn there.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. All right, you can stick with housing, library trustees. I can take that. I'll take master plan. Mordecai Lincoln, Susie, that's you. Planning is Freya. Plymouth County, that's. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, someone will take public building? Doesn't know.
No, it's
No.
not.
I'm gonna take traffic rules.
Traffic rules is all yours.
Are we,
Listen, that's too quick.
where are we now? I'm sorry.
I usually look
Yeah,
at
we're at public buildings.
public building, nobody wants public, I'll keep it if nobody wants. All right, still me. Rec is Jamie.
Which I would enjoy, except.
You want it?
Well,
No,
my wife works in rec, so
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't.
just like I don't do
Yes.
school committee.
All right, school building committee, I think. Nancy, do I technically, because I sign all that stuff, do I have to stay on that?
School building,
Yeah.
I think there has to be
Yeah,
a select board
yeah.
member.
Does it have to be the chair is the
Chair.
question?
Believe it
I
is.
Yeah.
think it does,
He's always signed up as all the city.
but school committee doesn't.
No, school committee, yeah,
I'll take school committee from you if you want.
sure, there you go.
You still only do the 2, but.
Yeah. There you go, we'll take that one. The chamber,
I would love
and the chamber would love, yeah,
Yeah, yes.
there you go. Shark. Now with that, I want folks to know our previous number. We'd love to remain and be involved.
I think it's
So at
an
some
amazing
point,
idea, that's like your baby.
I would humbly ask the board to consider just adding, and we actually wrote in that, we can add member anytime if we want. to lose her institutional memory would be silly.
So let's have, we go in there.
Yeah, oh no, I mean, she just wants to be a member.
She wants to be.
We'll add
She's still
another
agrees.
member
She
at the
can
next
show up to the
meeting.
meetings, right? You don't have to be a member.
Yes.
Yeah, no, but I want,
I want to make
she's
her.
gonna say,
Would we need to, so you're suggesting
That's
putting
you.
on the agenda to add a number two?
Correct, nice one.
We do that on our sabbatical at,
Kind of get it.
when we're down in,
So I'm gonna get in trouble here, shellfish. Shellfish advisory, Susan, Susan Shellfish.
Yeah. The sister city that we split up last time into three, because Karen was on that, we just want to get France, Ireland.
I did
didn't
Ireland.
remember it, but I never got to go
I'd like to stay on Ireland.
Alright.
because those are three separate committees, those are three
Correct.
separate.
You're gonna get off of France, is what you're saying?
No, I'm saying Karen was France.
Oh, I see. You're Cape Verde.
I am,
I'll take France.
because they're three separate committees.
So short coalition, we have to do that on street acceptance and a half, no? Means street acceptance, I never.
It just means when it's,
Yeah, I'll take that. Traffic rules. Yeah, it's all you.
That's Nico, congratulations.
You getting that?
Nico.
You gave me a way too far.
Fix Front Street while you're
The
at it.
most hated one. College May.
Very curious.
So they used to
about
meet
it.
at the same time.
Very curious about it when it gets to gates.
Alright, better.
Veterans.
I thought you should do water resources too.
If she does water resources, I'll do veterans, I have no problem with that. It's what you're doing.
Well, they always meet on Tuesdays too, like,
Do they?
Who,
yeah,
veterans
the water
or water
resources.
resources?
Yeah.
It's.
What?
Yeah, no, I can do water.
Don't we set the expectations, please?
We should, that's what my
What
point
time is
was.
all
Can't
set?
meet Tuesday at 6:30?
Why can't we do that?
Well, on our August agenda, we will take it up.
wait, so I'm sorry, who's doing water resources commission?
I am.
Right.
Waterways and
Who's
zoning.
doing
Susan.
veterans, are you gonna do veterans?
Yeah, I mean, I just.
Yeah, she can do both.
Used to be on
What
zoning.
is it?
We're gonna split one.
Alright.
Just talk to.
All right,
Colors.
yeah, we're done, right?
And you're gonna make us a pretty one, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, and then you send it out to all the chairs as a
Correct.
process, and we could also send a reminder to
When they
put
get
this
this post,
post, and then they send them.
And send them to us, and give them our email address, and
Yeah.
please send us the formal invite.
Yeah.
And not just, hey, we're gonna meet Tuesday night, where, what time,
In a very
those
more
fun
polite manner
I'm
than
a
that.
very simple soul.
That's.
Alright.
She's gonna polish that statement.
With a detailed agenda.
Mr. Clerk, do we have any?
The only correspondence I had this evening, I think you've all seen, is regarding the noise and entertainment issue that the similar people were here and expressed their desires. But the only correspondence I received today.
Yeah, I think there was an
There was
Xfinity.
something about a possible strike with.
Oh, the
Xfinity.
backdrop and
Yeah.
the.
It was not in my correspondence, I only have
In our
Yeah.
backup.
I thought that,
The Xfinity one was literally,
you had a National Grid Vegetation Management Plan notice, you had Comcast notice regarding it, Netflix, there's prices going up in Netflix. Comcast is no longer gonna provide Netflix, NECN, and then you had the GATRA, and then you had another email from, Margaret Laughlin, which was a resident
That
in
was
Front
regarding
Street,
what I
regarding
referred to.
Valley.
Yeah.
And then you had the letter from, Paul Devara, who was here regarding Valley.
Those two we discussed.
Yeah. Yeah.
we have a motion to approve meeting minutes, excuse me, for the speaking.
Motion to approve the minutes as written and submitted.
We're gonna stay on water. Second by Mr. Slagle, all in favor?
Aye.
To adjourn.
so
Motion.
moved.
Second.
Mr. Gerber, second by Ms. Harrison, all in favor?
Aye.